Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Swamp Lord, I Have an Intelligence System. Chapter 1. Glorious Era 8775, July 5th, the main plain of Nor, the Griffin Kingdom, and the city of Lowland. Sir, Administrative Officer, the town of Nad was captured by a group of Blood Naga yesterday evening. All the more than 1,300 people in the town had their hearts removed, and no one survived. The Falcon Knights found their traces in a passage to the underground world 20 miles away from the town. The Guard Army is currently gathering, and there will be 3 squadrons of the Griffin Army to participate in the clearing. The Chief Administrative Officer of Lowland City, with a hooked nose, blue eyes, a semi-bald head, and a belly slightly larger than that of an 8-month pregnant woman, sat behind a desk filled with documents. He looked at the subordinate reporting in front of him through the gaps in the pages of the book, and his tone was unkind. Those underground fools, sooner or later they will be cleaned up. Send 20 clerks to Kennard Town to handle the funeral affairs, and at the same time select a new mayor to go there, and then recruit residents from the refugees in the city to fill the town's population. As you command, my lord. Has the village that was destroyed by the ogres last month been built? Not yet. It is expected to be at the end of the month, but the recruitment of residents is very slow. The village has been destroyed 3 times this year, and the refugees in the city are unwilling to go. The administrative officer rubbed his temples with a headache. Is it okay for you to figure this out on your own? Sir, this is the application list for Pioneer Lords that was just submitted. Wasn't the list submitted 5 days ago? Sir, someone submitted it again the evening before yesterday, he said with a bit of hesitation. Perhaps you will be interested. Hearing what he said, the administrative officer also became a little curious. He took the list and flipped it several times before seeing the names of the additional personnel. Lil Ayers, the Ayers family. There was a bit of emotion on the fat face, and finally he sighed. That guy else has been dead for 10 years. Has his family fallen to the point of becoming a pioneer lord? Who is this Lil Ayers? Where does he live? Sir, this person is the only blood descendant of the Else family. He moved to the 9th block 3 years ago. 9th district, yes. After a long silence, he closed the document with a complicated expression. Send it to the Grand Duke. When his subordinates left, he looked out the window, dazed. In the 9th district, this street is regarded as a sewer and garbage dump by the nobles of Lorraine City. Robberies, thefts, murders and other evil deeds happen every night. The air was filthy, filled with the pungent stench of urine and sewers, and flies were everywhere. This is a dirty place that outsiders are unwilling to take a second look at, and even missionaries who are keen to convert the lost to our God rarely set foot. But this filth-ridden area is home to more than 100,000 poor people. Lear walked through the winding alleys, carefully avoiding the filth on the ground, and stepped over puddles of black and smelly sewage. The stench of the air made his eyes red. The poor people who passed him had dull eyes and pale faces. Most of them wore tattered linen clothes, and some of them even had more patches than the original fabric. Some older residents stepped directly into the stinky water pool, letting the black water wet their trousers. They looked numb, like living corpses that could move around. Even though he has been in this world for 3 days, Lear still can't bear all this. After speeding up and turning a few turns, I came to a low house covered with black moss. I looked at the rusty lock on it and let out a long breath. With a slight twist, it opened directly without a key. Push the door open and enter. The room is about 10 square meters, without any furniture. There was a tattered, calf-high bed in the corner, with only 2 blackened blankets on it. The 4 walls of the family have the most intuitive image. Lear didn't mind it and sat on the bed, but his butt felt so tight as soon as it stuck to him. With a smooth touch, he took out 2 fist-sized pieces of bread from under the bed, black and hard as rocks, with a deep tooth mark on them. Brown bread. He gave a wry smile. Dogs would hate this food, but it was his food. Putting the brown bread aside, he stared blankly at the wall next door through the window half an arm's width away. Time travel. It sounds light and airy when you say it, but when it actually falls on you, you realize how heavy it is. After all, he sacrificed his life by going into the water to save others. Why was he allowed to come to such a world? The level of civilization in this world is about that of medieval Europe, but it possesses extraordinary power. There is even a god. The gods in charge of power are high above, and they often punish people by destroying cities and annihilating people. Sects spread the glory of God everywhere and preach that God loves the world. The evil dragon occupies the mountains and deep valleys, often plundering treasures and destroying towns. Demons, undead, and all kinds of evil beings perform bloody sacrifices every day to please the evil gods. Evil beings in the underground world appear on the surface from time to time, killing humans. Various powerful races are raging in the wild, and they may attack cities and towns at any time and slaughter civilians. Wars continue, and racial disputes are as fierce as sparks. Materials are scarce, the means of production are backward, civilization has stagnated, extraordinary people enslave the world, class solidification is serious, and knowledge is monopolized by aristocratic sects. All the elements are almost gathered. The body he occupies is a descendant of a down-and-out noble. He has no awakening power, no family wealth, and no social status. He is an ordinary person with no sense of existence. Ordinary people are like pigs in this fantasy world with extraordinary power, inconspicuous and at the mercy of others. Even wanting to live a stable life is a luxury. Because the family wealth has long been dissipated, the original body can only survive in the poor places like the 9th block. What's more terrible is that 3 days ago, the original body actually applied to inherit the title that had been deprived of the family. According to the law of the Griffin Kingdom, the descendants of nobles who have been deprived of the title must become pioneer lords if they want to inherit the title. Little else, you are back. I heard that you applied to inherit the title. A low voice at the door interrupted his thoughts. Lear turned his head and saw a middle-aged man in his early 50s leaning half of his body into the house, looking at him with a little worry. His hair was gray, his hands were covered with calluses, and his body was a little thin due to long-term lack of nutrition. Lear, who had the memory of the original body, immediately recognized the other party. The current neighbor Jem worked at the dock. When he was young, he was also a powerful knight and knew a lot about the outside world. He has a cheerful and generous personality. Even in the slums, he takes good care of his original self. He fainted from hunger several times, and it was the other party who took out food to save him. Uncle Jem. The middle-aged man looked at Lear's pale face, opened his mouth, wanted to say something, and finally sighed. Why bother? Do you know what is in the wilderness? Orcs, barbarians, scavengers, vampires, drow elves, half-snakes, cultists, and undead. There are passages connecting the dark and dangerous underground world, space cracks connecting to the mysterious and terrifying other planes, and there are ancient evil spirits and demons who want to subvert the order. There is no word of safety in the wilderness. The Empire has not conquered this area for thousands of years. Although it is a bit difficult to live in the city, at least you can still survive. Go to the wilderness and become a pioneer lord. Everything is out of your control. I know you want to inherit the title, but this time, alas. Jem's tone is very complicated. When the other party moved to the slums 3 years ago, his childish face was still in front of him. He watched this kid grow up and couldn't bear to see him die. Baron Else died of an old injury 10 years ago, and within a few years, the family had declined. The law of the Griffin Kingdom stipulates that after the death of a noble, if no one inherits the title within 7 years, the title will be automatically lost. The first condition for inheriting the title is to be an adult at the age of 16. There are many unreasonable rules under this careful examination, but it has been passed down without resistance from the noble class. There seems to be a secret behind it that makes people keep it a secret. As the only descendant of the Else family, Lear just turned 15 3 years ago. The Else family, which no one can inherit, was directly expelled from the noble sequence. And the descendants of the nobles who lost the title want to inherit the title again. They must become pioneer lords and occupy new land for the kingdom. But is it so easy to be a reclamation lord? The Griffin Kingdom was established for 2,200 years, but it only encroached on thousands of miles of wilderness. But what is the price? Over the past 2,000 years, the bodies of the land reclamation lords can be piled up into a magnificent mountain. A magnificent city can be built on the sea. How many land reclamation lords are there alive? Jem took a deep breath. Grand Duke Loran will personally approve each land reclamation lord. I just hope the Grand Duke will not allow it. He swallowed his words halfway through his words and turned his head alertly to look at the entrance of the alley. Lear noticed something strange and looked through the crack in the door. Tap, tap. A soldier wearing black armor, with a soaring falcon pattern engraved on his chest, a hooked nose and blue eyes, strode in with a cold face. After approaching the house, he confirmed the house number on it, walked past Jem, strode into the house, and handed a yellowed paper to Lear. The blood-red seal on it was particularly eye-catching. Griffin Empire Grand Duke Loran. The soldier spoke stiffly. Lil Els, your application for Pioneering Lord has been approved by the Grand Duke. Gather at the Grand Duke's mansion at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to receive pioneering materials and choose a territory to be pioneered. This is the pioneering order and the document of succession to the baronial title of the Els family. Congratulations, you have taken back the title of your family, Baron Lil Els. After saying the routine words, without waiting for Lil's response, he turned around and walked out of the house with an impatient and cold face. The stench along the way almost made him explode. If it weren't for the military order, he would never step into such a ghost place in his life. Giving orders to such a whimsical poor ghost, there is no oil to be made. There are always ignorant people who want to rise to the sky in one step. What a place is the wilderness. He, a high-level knight of level 10, dare not easily set foot in it. He also wants to open up territory and build towns on it. Isn't this a dead end? After the messenger sergeant left, Jem looked at the document in Lil's hand and fell silent. Lear looked at the document in his hand and was speechless. His original body was really overwhelmed by the hardship and hopeless life. He thought that he would die if he stayed here, so he might as well take a chance, inherit the title, and fight for wealth outside the city. However, before he could go, he fell down because of his weak body. Now, he wanted to fulfill the other party's dream of becoming a lord. According to the Griffin Empire law, those who actively apply to become pioneer lords, refuse to go to the wilderness, or fail to carry out orders under other excuses, will be treated as deserters and hanged. In this world with extraordinary power, even escaping is impossible. Lear took a deep breath, his eyes were a bit complicated. In this world, is it so difficult to even survive? At this moment, a blue light suddenly appeared in his mind. The light gradually condensed and then turned into a panel. It showed dense text. It is detected that you have become a lord. The intelligence system is automatically turned on. This information can be refreshed. Intelligence system. Lear stood up. The joy in his heart exploded directly. The intelligence system will refresh the information every 5 days. Today is the 5th, and the next refresh will be the 10th, 15th, 20th, 25th, 30th. Then it will return to the 5th again. 5 pieces of information can be refreshed each time, and the value of the information from low to high is from 1 star to 6 stars. Every time it is refreshed 10 times, a piece of information worth more than 4 stars will be refreshed. The information in his mind made Lear's surprise overflow from his chest. There is a way to survive. Taking a deep breath, he looked at Jem, who looked worried. Uncle Jim, thank you for your concern. I'm fine. I need some quiet time alone. Jem gave him a long look. Lear, I still have some connections in the Adventurers Guild. If you need anything in this regard, feel free to tell me. As he spoke, he gently pressed the middle finger, index finger, and ring finger of his right hand between his eyebrows, and then waved it toward the sky. May the goddess favor you. Then he closed the door softly and left this closed and low house. Lear watched the other party's back disappear and took a deep breath. Ordinary people in this world can't even take care of themselves. It's so rare for someone like Jim to value friendship and help his original self so much. He quickly adjusted and immediately looked at the blue panel in his mind. Follow the information given by the intelligence system and refresh the information silently. The next moment, new text was displayed above. This is the first time the intelligence has been refreshed, and the value of the intelligence has been additionally improved. Information worth more than 5 stars must be refreshed once. Oh, any extra surprises? With Lear full of expectations, 5 pieces of information appeared on the blue panel in his mind. 1. Dean, the clerk who distributes supplies to the pioneering knights, after a night of consideration, is ready to accept a bribe of 100 gold coins from the Roar family. Tomorrow, he will secretly apply for special pioneering supplies and give them to the new pioneering lord, Oak Row, U. Intelligence value, 1 star. 2. Tomorrow morning, a group of ogres will attack the windmill town 120 kilometers north of Lorraine City. The number of ogres exceeds 100. Intelligence value, 1 star. 3. The 13th stall of the 9th Street Market, the red leaf tree saplings sold are the saplings of the magic plant, lava fruit tree. Intelligence value, 2 stars. 4. The eldest daughter of the Llewellyn family, level 1 Llewellyn, the magic plant she has been searching for, blue crystal grass, is located 200 kilometers northwest of Llewellyn City, in a valley full of lilies, middle. Intelligence value, 2 stars. 5. Refreshing. There were 5 pieces of information in total, and one was being refreshed. Lear couldn't wait for the one that was still being refreshed, and immediately looked down from the first one. The first is information about the bribery received by Dean, the clerk who distributed supplies to the Pioneer Knights. 1 star, not much value. Accepting bribes is too common in this extraordinary world ruled by nobles, and the other party is still in the preparation stage. Special development materials are prepared for nobles whose families have had glorious experiences. The Else family is only a barren family and cannot meet this point. This item is indeed of little value to him. The second is the ogre's attack on the windmill town north of Lorraine City. 1 star value. Ogres are powerful creatures that have reached level 6. They are generally over 3 meters tall and very fierce. This piece of information was of limited value. He had never heard of that windmill town. The value of these 2 pieces of information 3 and 4 reached 2 stars, and the value immediately soared. The 13th stall of the black market in the 9th block sells red leaf tree saplings, which are the saplings of the magic plant, lava fruit tree. Magical plants are quite rare in this world. Lava fruit is the main ingredient in alchemy potions. Taking it alone can quickly restore magic power, and the price is not low in the market. One can be sold for 10 gold coins. Ordinary people can only earn 5 or 6 gold coins by working hard for a year without eating or drinking. This kind of magic item is a luxury item that ordinary people can't even imagine. Now the saplings of this magical plant are being sold as red leaf tree saplings. What are red leaf trees? They can be seen everywhere outside the city. They can become useful in 3 years. The wood is sparse. Its only feature is that it is not prone to insects and is cheap. Poor people like to use this tree to build houses. The prices of the 2 are vastly different. This is a huge profit margin. I will go there immediately and buy those seedlings no matter what. Lear's spirits perked up. The 4th information is also very interesting. The eldest daughter of the Llewellyn family, the magic plant she is looking for, blue crystal grass, is 200 kilometers northwest of Llewellyn City. What is this place? The largest city in the northern province of the Griffin Empire, Llewellyn City. The Llewellyn family is the controller of this city, the only master. This city exists because of this family. The eldest daughter of the Lorraine family, what kind of person is she? Flower of the North, Princess of Lorraine City, a magic genius renowned in the empire. At only 24 years old, he became a level 16 archmage, possessing the power to destroy cities and was hailed as the rising star of the Griffin Empire. One order can affect the fate of countless people. The value of the magic plant itself suggested by the intelligence may not be high, but once it is found by such top nobles, its value will inevitably soar. Lear ponders the value. If this information is used well, enough development funds may be obtained. At this moment, the 5th piece of information was quietly refreshed. But unlike the other pieces of information, this piece of information actually shone with a golden light. Lear looked at it subconsciously, and the 6-star symbol at the end made his heart suddenly stop. The highest value of information is only 0.6 stars. This piece of information is a golden 6-star. After reading it carefully, the blood rushed from the back to his head. And his eyes were bloodshot. He suddenly grasped the document with 5 fingers. 5. In the black market of the 9th block, a tomb-robbing gang stole a turbid crystal from an ancient tomb. It will be sold at the 23rd stall at the entrance of the black market when the sun just rises on the morning of July 8th. This item is the broken godhead of the swamp god. If you drip blood on the crystal, you can control this part of the swamp godhead. Information value. 6 stars gold, full stars. The broken godhead of the swamp god. Lear felt dizzy when he saw this key information. God is the most powerful and terrifying existence in this world. It is the ruler of this world. Now, the opponent's power is revealed in front of us. At your fingertips, gold information worth 6 stars. So terrifying, so terrifying. Lear took a few deep breaths but still couldn't suppress his emotions. He didn't expect the intelligence to be so powerful this time. The first refresh will refresh the intelligence above 5 stars, and it will directly refresh a full 6 stars. Golden legend. He immediately had the most intuitive understanding of the value rating of intelligence. Unfortunately, each refresh in the future will be random, and only once every 10 refreshes will there be a 4-star or above intelligence. Refresh once every 5 days, 6 times a month. Today is July 5th, and it will not be until August 20th that intelligence above 4 stars will be refreshed. If it is a guaranteed refresh of 6 stars, I dare not think about it. That fragment of the godhead must be obtained. Thoughts turned. The problem now is that he is now penniless and may not be able to afford the goods sold by those tomb robbers. Robbery is far from enough. He hasn't even condensed the seeds of magic. He is just an ordinary person. How can he rob with his head? First use the previous intelligence to earn enough resources and then seek 6-star intelligence. After making a decision, his eyes quickly locked onto the third piece of information, which was the fastest and easiest to obtain and verify the reliability and authenticity of the information. He did not hesitate and immediately stood up and went to the corner, moved half of a tightly fitted brick, and took out 3 silver coins from it. This was the last savings of the original body in this world. 1 copper coin could buy a fist-sized piece of black bread that could be used as a weapon. 100 copper coins could be exchanged for 1 silver coin. These 3 silver coins could provide him with 3 or 4 months of food, at least to maintain life. To make a fortune, you have to rely on these 3 big guys. He stood up, closed the door and left home, heading straight to the market in the 9th block. Although it was a slum, more than 100,000 people needed to live, and where there was life, there would be trade. After walking in the winding alley for 20 minutes, a bustling market appeared in front of him. Both sides were densely packed with stalls. All kinds of food and daily necessities were sold on them. Most of the people who came and went wore coarse cloth clothes, with more patches on their bodies than the others. Their faces were pale and haggard, and they didn't look very healthy. They bargained hysterically when buying things. They could smile for a long time if they could save a copper coin. The original body often came to the market to buy food, and was familiar with this area. He quickly passed the gathering area of the vendors and entered the main market. There were slightly fewer people here, and the patches on the clothes of passers-by were also significantly reduced. From time to time, he could even see a few civilians dressed well. The 13th stall. He counted silently and quickly found his target. A larger store, which sold all kinds of fruits unique to this world. There was a large area of saplings on the outside, with more than 10 kinds. A thin-faced, lame middle-aged man who walked with 1 foot high and 1 foot low was taking care of it at the moment. Lear was about to speak, but suddenly he saw a faint inverted triangle tattoo under the rolled-up sleeves of the lame man. That is the unique mark of the notorious gang in the 9th district, the Pure Blood Brotherhood. Human trafficking, opening casinos, smuggling, robbery. There is almost nothing that the Pure Blood Brotherhood does not get involved in. Many shops opened in the open are tentacles used by these underground forces to find targets. Young and beautiful girls, wealthy customers, will be recorded on the list. The target of this trip cannot be exposed. Take a deep breath and calm down. Glancing around, I saw the target of this trip, the lava fruit sapling. The sapling was covered with stinky mud, with only a few fiery red leaves exposed. From the leaves alone, there is no difference between the red leaf tree and the lava fruit. The lame man heard the footsteps and immediately turned his head to look. The shabby clothes on Lear made the other party frown. "What do you need, sir? I have fresh fruits and various fruit tree saplings here." Lear said softly, "Sir, I need to buy green fruit saplings, long leaf saplings and red leaf saplings." The saplings they bought were common ones, and the lame man was too lazy to say more, pointing to a pile of muddy saplings. "They are all here. I just received them this morning. 1 silver coin is 20. Choose what you want. The price is 5 copper coins per sapling, which is moderate in the market." Seeing that the other party was too lazy to pay attention to him, Lear made up his mind and did not hesitate to carefully select from the saplings. Starting from green fruit saplings and long leaf saplings, he finally chose his target, lava fruit. Unfortunately, there are only 12 saplings of this 2-star magic plant, and he couldn't buy more. In the end, he spent 2 silver coins and bought 40 saplings. Then, like the people around him, he naturally bargained for the price. The lame man looked better for the sake of the silver coins. But when he heard that Lear was going to buy 40 saplings with 1 silver coin, his mouth twitched. After a long time of hesitation, he finally couldn't bear it anymore and gave him 5 more saplings, asking him to get out of here. Seeing Lear leaving with satisfaction, he couldn't help but spit. The kids in the slums are all things that have never seen the world. They still want to bargain for such a small thing. However, the 2 silver coins made him feel much better. He was thinking happily about which prostitute he would visit in the evening. Lear carried the saplings and shuttled around, bypassing several complicated alleys without making a sound, and left the 9th block. Saplings half the length of an arm, 45 of them plus the mud, are not considered heavy. This thing is really worthless, and it is covered with stinky mud, so passers-by are too lazy to take a second look. Lear looked around. Square pointed buildings extend out along the street. These houses are between 3 and 7 stories high and low, and they are jagged. Most of the exteriors are decorated with colored flowered glass, which is exquisite and gorgeous. From time to time, you can see noble ladies looking down from the windows or children lying on the windows. There are large plaster reliefs carved on the exterior walls of the buildings, which either sing praises to the benevolence of gods, or praise heroes, or spread the glorious history of Loran City. This beautiful work of art makes people's hearts sway. Such a glorious scene forms a sharp contrast with the dirty and smelly 9th district behind him. Let Lear feel a strong contrast and irony. Life is a gorgeous robe covered with lice. Without the intention of appreciating the magnificence of this magnificent city, he silently stopped a carriage and carried the sapling to the center of the city. As the sun gradually sank into the earth, Lear stood in front of an exquisite and luxurious manor. The fountain in the center of the gate emitted a large amount of mist, and a rainbow was flowing in the air. The wall, which was more than 10 meters high, was almost stronger than the walls of many small towns. There was an exquisite little angel statue at every distance on the wall, looking up at the sky, grinning, or scratching his head in thought. It was covered with roses, and bright flowers bloomed on the branches and leaves, like a dream in the light mist. The water droplets on the petals were crystal clear, and bees came and went, buzzing. There was no need for too much explanation, just one look would tell you that this manor was extraordinary. Lear took a deep breath and strode closer under the stern eyes of more than a squadron of guards. Stop. This is Rose Manor. Lear raised the sapling in his hand. I found the magical plant that Her Highness Philina offered a reward for, the blue crystal grass. When the soldier heard this, his eyes moved slightly. A tall, majestic knight wearing a silver helmet and a bloody cape slowly stepped out. The black armor on his body exuded a cold light. Under the setting sun, he came to Lear and looked at him carefully. Where is the blue crystal grass? Are these saplings in your hands? His mission is to eliminate all hidden dangers. This guy holding a muddy sapling does not look like a noble. It is simply a joke to let a civilian break into the manor like this. Rose Manor is the residence of His Highness. Lear's tone was calm. Sir, these saplings are not blue crystal grass. I know where the crystal grass is. The burly knight raised his eyebrows. In other words, you don't have blue crystal grass. His eyes suddenly became very dangerous. Lear looked directly into the other person's eyes and said slowly, no one will risk their lives to come to Rose Manor to coax His Highness. The other party was noncommittal. Lear was good at tempting. Whether there is blue crystal grass or not, you can tell at a glance. There is no possibility of deception. Your Excellency has done your duty admirably. All you need to do is deliver the news to His Highness. It will relieve His Highness worries. Your Highness will have his own decision as to what he wants to do. If there are any mistakes or omissions, I will bear the same responsibility. Your Excellency will at most have a reputation of wanting to share the worries but not finding the right way. I'm afraid His Highness will still have to think a little of Your Excellency. After saying these words, the knight with the golden helmet moved his eyes slightly, his expression softened, and he was about to speak. Herod, a sound of horses roaring came. Lear turned his head and looked subconsciously. 7 pure white unicorn horses pulled a flower carriage entwined with blooming roses and drove slowly from the corner of the street. The wheels pressed against the bluestone street, making a crisp sound. Wherever I passed, the plants on both sides of the street seemed to be blooming in spring. They immediately straightened their branches and leaves and became crisp and vigorous visibly to the naked eye. The roses on the wall were swaying in the wind, as if they were alive, cheering and jumping for joy. Even the air is filled with a unique fragrance. This scene is like a budding goddess driving a divine chariot. Herod, 7 pure white horses slowly stopped in front of the gate of the manor. The driver was a blonde girl wearing a gorgeous dark blue dress. She had an excellent appearance and an even more impressive temperament. Even the ladies of some top nobles are no more than that. But she was so beautiful, she was just a maid driving the carriage. The other party got out of the carriage and slowly opened the door of the rear compartment. The next moment, a graceful and tall figure slowly got out of the car. Her skin is as white as jade, as soft as a child of 3 or 5 years old, and her face is exquisite and flawless, as if it was carefully carved by the gods from pure white jade. It can be described as perfect. The blue eyes are as bright and deep as gems, exuding a soul-stirring light. Even if a mortal just takes a look at them from a distance, they will be addicted to them. Her long brown hair seemed to have lost gravity, floating gently in the air. The concave and convex body is wearing a pure black robe with rose pattern engraved on it, which is luxurious, noble and elegant. Every move of the other party reveals endless mystery and elegance. Phileena Lauren, the eldest daughter of the Llewellyn family and the real princess of Llewellyn City, she was a magic genius who was promoted to a level 16 archmage at the age of 24. The proud daughter of heaven, the pearl of Llewellyn City, the flower of the north. The guarding soldiers all had their right hands on their chests and lowered their heads in the most humble manner. It seemed that even one more glance would be blaspheming this noble and holy princess. The world of Nor has 2 main paths to transcendence, the knight and the mage. By condensing the seeds of life, you can become a knight, continuously strengthen your body, and step into the extraordinary. This road is further subdivided into professional branches such as warriors, swordsmen, thieves, etc. By condensing the magic power seeds, one can control the magic power and become a mage. The levels of mage are divided into mage apprentice, junior mage, intermediate mage, high-level mage, archmage, as well as the more powerful crown mage and the top extraordinary mage. Each level is divided into 3 levels, so the world of Noel has clear level distinctions. Levels 1 to 3 are mage apprentices, levels 4 to 6 are junior mages, levels 7 to 9 are intermediate mages, and levels 10 to 12 are high-level mages. Level 13 to 15 high-level mage, level 16 to 18 archmage, level 19 to 21 crown mage. Level 22 and above are the world's top extraordinary mages. When you awaken the magic seed for the first time, you can become a level 1 mage apprentice. As your magic power grows, you can upgrade to level 2 or 3. After reaching level 3, you need to make a breakthrough before you can be promoted to a junior mage. Every 3 levels is a hurdle. And so on. The end point for most mages is to be an intermediate mage of levels 7 to 9. High-level mages who reach level 10 to 12 can already enter the Royal Academy of the Griffin Empire as a professor, or join the Mage Legion as a leader. The Archmage can already cast powerful 4-ring war magic. As long as he is given time to prepare, he can directly destroy half a city. It is a strategic force. At this moment, the Princess of Llewellyn City is a level 16 Archmage. More importantly, Phileena Lauren is only 24 years old. She is the youngest magic genius in the history of the Griffin Empire. There is almost no doubt that he will become an extraordinary mage in the future. Extraordinary mage. In the huge Griffin Empire, there are only a few people who rule over a territory with hundreds of millions of people. One can imagine how dazzling such a character is. This flower of the north not only enjoys a high reputation in the city of Lorraine and the northern province, but also has huge influence in the entire empire. This is an existence that can still attract the attention and respect of the empire even if she no longer has the title of Princess of Llewellyn City. After Philena Lauren got off the carriage, she seemed to sense something and looked towards Lear. His eyes stared at the muddy saplings for a moment. Is this a lava fruit sapling? Seedlings of this magical plant are rare. When the burly knight saw the other party's eyes looking in this direction, he suddenly became excited. His eyes were full of heat and he held his chest and bowed again. Welcome to you, Your Highness. Lear looked at the other person so excited that his hands were shaking and his eyes were slightly narrowed. He also knew that this flower of the north was like a saint in Lowland City. Considered a goddess by everyone. But I still feel a little bit emotional about Big Brother, as for that. He looked at the other person calmly, put his right hand on his shoulder politely, and nodded slightly. A noble meeting ceremony was performed. Greetings, Your Highness. This action made Philena's eyes move from the sapling to him. His eyes showed a bit of amusement. I hear your conversation echoing in the air. Do you know where the blue crystal grass is? The air echoes with conversation. Lear deeply felt the difference in the otherworldly world. With this thing, wouldn't it be easy to solve crimes and catch rapists? Of course, it's best not to go to the hotel to listen. Looking directly into the other person's bright blue eyes, he said slowly. I accidentally learned about the location of the blue crystal grass and heard that His Highness offered a high reward. Philena was stunned for a moment, her face looking a little strange. Are you doing it for the reward? Lear nodded naturally. Your Highness, I have inherited the family title and will become a pioneer lord in a few days. Before she finished speaking, Philena already understood. I need to refine a special potion, which happens to use blue crystal grass. It's worth a lot to me. What do you need from me in exchange for you? It seems that His Highness has never done business before, so he is quite straightforward. Lear said solemnly. Philena looked at those dark, calm eyes without the slightest hint of color or fear. He looked at the patches on the other person's body again, showing some interest. It seems that you are also a determined person and have your own ideas. Can you tell me the location of the blue crystal grass first? After getting it back, I will definitely give you a satisfactory reward. Lear is not ambiguous either. 200 kilometers northwest of Llewellyn City, in a valley where lilies are blooming. The value of intelligence lies in its realization. If the information is sold to those in need, the value obtained will be greater. Seeing Lear so neat and tidy, Philena was a little surprised, staring at him with jewel-like eyes, curiously. Aren't you afraid that I will break the contract? After all, I am the princess of Llewellyn City in your mouth. If I break the contract, no one will believe your accusation. Lear looked directly into the other person's eyes, glanced at the intelligence panel, which showed the gleaming 6-star intelligence, and said calmly. Not afraid. You may not be able to pay the price of breach of contract. Your Excellency, are you so confident? There was a little more fun in Philena's eyes. Lear smiled. Your Highness has a reputation that is admired even by the children in the 9th district. Why would you deceive me for a mere piece of blue crystal grass? Philena's sapphire eyes narrowed slightly. These words were naturally false. What made her slightly interesting was the unshakable confidence and determination in the other person's eyes at that moment. It seems that as long as he dares to break his promise, the other party can really do anything. He smiled and looked at the silver-helmeted knight who was still excited. Reckle, take someone to retrieve the blue crystal grass and set off immediately. After receiving the order from the goddess herself, the knight's energy suddenly soared with an exaggerated momentum. Kneeling on one knee, his eyes were full of heat. I obey your orders, Your Highness. That firm and sworn tone made Lear quite touched. For people in this world, it is a great honor to be able to say a word to such an imperial noblewoman. But he was not among them. Not only did he not feel honored, but he actually wanted to laugh. Just stand up and kick. The long flaxen hair floated in the air, making Philena look mysterious and extraordinary. Slowly raised his head and looked at the sky. Quote, quote. He whispered a spell in his mouth. The next moment, a crisp eagle call echoed through the sky. A huge black shadow swooped down from the sky. Casts a huge shadow on the ground. Hoo-hoo. The air roared, wings flapped, and cyclones rolled wildly. The black shadow slowly fell to the ground. The head of a falcon, the body of a lion, and a pair of eagle wings with a wingspan of more than 10 meters growing on its back. Amber eyes were as sharp as arrows. The beak as sharp and curved like an iron hook, full of fierceness. Griffin, the foundation of the Griffin Empire. It is also the most powerful force in Lowland City. Every adult Griffin has the power of a high-ranking knight, and the highest level can reach level 12. This is the level at which one can command a small force in the Royal Legion. The Griffin stood on the ground, with a shoulder height of more than 3 meters. The lion's body is filled with explosive power. Just standing in front of this kind of life can feel the suffocating pressure. Facing a giant wolf dog that is more than 1 meter tall and weighs more than 100 pounds, one can feel the pressure of the beast. The pressure brought by this fantasy life weighing 3 or 4 tons makes it almost difficult to breathe. Lear's eyes felt a little hot. This may be the charm of this world, extraordinary life that does not exist on Earth. At this moment, he felt that riding a griffin and galloping through the sky gave him a greater sense of accomplishment than riding a goddess. Phileena seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at Lear. Somewhat surprised to find that this young man who had not yet condensed the seeds of magic power not only did not tremble in fear under the oppression of the griffin. Instead, a different kind of light shone in his eyes. It's like seeing a long-awaited toy. A griffin, a ferocious creature that is a killing machine on the battlefield, is treated as a toy by an ordinary person. Eyes narrowed slightly. She was a little confused as to where the other party got such confidence. Go ahead, Wrecker. The knight with the silver helmet raised his head high, like a general returning from a victorious battle. Under the envious gaze of all the soldiers, he turned over and mounted the ferocious magical creature. The body of the griffin lion kicked the ground violently, its wings beating wildly. The cyclone exploded, causing debris to fly and vegetation to shake wildly. The lift of the air current made this giant creature rise quickly into the sky. Chirp! After a crisp eagle cry, it disappeared into the air. Phileena looked at Lear with a somewhat thoughtful look and said softly, I don't know your name yet. Lil Ayres, say hello to His Highness. Lear put his right hand on his shoulder and signaled with the noble greeting again. Else, this surname is very unfamiliar to someone who would become a pioneer lord, and he would know a thing or two about it. It must be that the ancestors were glorious in the past, but as for what they are like now, just look at the clothes on the other person's body and you will know. Phileena nodded. Your Excellency Lear, can you sell the lava fruit seedlings in your hands to me? I have new research that I need to use recently. It takes 20 years for lava fruit to grow from seedlings to fruiting. During this period, it needs continuous cultivation. This is still the shortest time. You can also go to someone later and ask if that's the case. After finishing speaking, he added another sentence. Of course, I will pay you enough. It takes 20 years to bear fruit. The corner of Lear's mouth twitched. By the time this thing was grown, the daylily was already cold. Only the top nobles with a history of thousands of years have the time and energy to cultivate it slowly. Of course I trust His Highness. If necessary, I will sell them to your Highness together. As he spoke, he separated the 12 mud-covered lava fruit seedlings from the saplings. Passed it over. When the surrounding soldiers saw this scene, their eyes turned green. Phileena was also a little stunned when she saw this scene. He smiled and reached out his hand to take the muddy seedling without any hesitation. The white fingers formed a sharp contrast with the black mud-covered saplings. The next moment, the originally wilting saplings seemed to have been gifted by the bud goddess and stood upright, visible to the naked eye. Full of life. Tomorrow morning will be the time for the next group of pioneer knights to choose to develop their territory. After your Excellency Lear has chosen the territory, how about I reward you? When the time comes, you will be satisfied. Lear narrowed his eyes slightly. As it should be. After responding, he said softly. However, I am quite short of money at the moment. Can I borrow 100 gold coins from His Highness for an emergency? The soldiers who were observing silently were stunned for a moment, feeling like they were deaf. Is this guy asking Her Highness the Princess to borrow money? A down-and-out nobleman who jumped out of nowhere, a fool who crawled out of the slums, just handed a filthy sapling to His Highness. How dare he borrow money from his own princess without any shame? Such filthy things are also used to insult the princess. They feel that their goddess is being defiled. Phileena was helpless by Lear. As the princess of Lowland City and a level 16 archmage, she has met a lot of strange people, but this was the first time she met someone who asked her to borrow money. What kind of brain is this? He waved to the maid behind him, dumbfounded. Jasmine, get 100 gold coins for Mr. Lear. As he spoke, he glanced at him with a half-smile. Do you have any other requests? Lear praised it greatly. Your Highness is generous. Atmosphere. Admirable. Phileena laughed. As long as you are satisfied, you can come see me again after you get the assigned territory tomorrow. He said and looked at the maid behind him. I will explain, and someone will take you into the manor when the time comes. Lear nodded. Then thank you in advance, Your Highness. At this moment, the blonde maid named Jasmine came forward, took out a cloth bag from somewhere, and handed it to Lear. Here are 100 gold coins. Lear reached out and took it, opened it and checked to make sure it was correct, then put it in his bag. Seeing the other party's unscrupulous look, Phileena smiled. This guy. After getting the startup capital, Lear didn't want to stay any longer. He said goodbye and left directly after saying a few polite words. Phileena and the maid beside her watched Lear disappear from sight so cleanly, and they felt inexplicably. Could this guy just come to get these 100 gold coins? The two of them looked at each other, both a little funny, and didn't know how to describe their inner emotions. Standing in front of you is the eldest princess of Llewellyn City. She can't ask for anything but gold coins. Lear achieved his goal and didn't bother to pay attention to what others thought. He had also inquired about the prices of lava fruit tree seedlings before coming here. These 12 plants were sold elsewhere and could be sold for more than 30 gold coins. Another news, blue crystal grass, can be sold for 50 gold coins, which is not bad. He originally did not expect that His Highness would give him any additional gains. This 100 gold coins has exceeded the budgeted income. Just give it up when it's good, even if you make less money, you will never lose money. A smart gambler does not have an excellent hand, but knows when to leave the gambling table. The smartest thing is to never go to the gambling table, but now he has no choice but to do it himself. As for the supplies that Phileena promised him, it was an extra bonus. The huge profits earned from the 2-star news enriched his wallet in just half a day. Can 2 pieces of information worth 1 star be used? Lear shook his head. There were no channels, these 2 values were indeed limited. While thinking, he looked at the 5th piece of 6-star golden information. Swamp Godhead. On the morning of July 8, it's time for dragons to appear all over the world. July 8, 8775 of the glorious era. The morning mist enveloped the entire city of Loran, and the air was slightly chilly. Lear, wearing a black cloak that covered his face and only revealed his eyes, slowly stepped into the most dangerous area of the 9th district. Black Market. Whether it is some big figures in the underground world or the noble lords who are high above, there will be things that are not allowed to see the light and need to be dealt with secretly. Because of the strength of Loran City, the black market in the 9th district is famous even in the entire northern province. No matter what goods come here, they can be easily sold. The black market opens every 3 days. Every time it attracts a large number of sellers and buyers, and even speculators who come from thousands of miles away. The craziest thing is that the place that can generate huge wealth transactions is hidden in the poorest slums. This has to be said to be a great irony. Perhaps, slums are qualified to exist because of this. The black market is built in the ruins of an old building, and there are few intact buildings. Once the black market is closed, this place will be a ghost town with no one. But now people are coming and going, and there is a sea of heads everywhere. More than half of them are like Lear, hiding their faces in various ways. There are all kinds of stalls on both sides of the road. But there are very few people shouting, and they all silently wait in front of the stalls, waiting for buyers to ask for prices. Lear turned his head and looked at the stalls, which were full of dazzling things. Unknown minerals, broken teeth of beasts, sharp swords, potions emitting magic fluctuations, half-elf slaves tied with chains, and even he saw 20 sets of high-level full-body armor engraved with the emblem of the Griffin Empire Royal Legion on a stall. This thing can be sold openly. At this moment, Lear directly saw the wildness of the black market. But he didn't waste any more time and began to look for his target. On the morning of July 8, when the sun just rises, it will be sold at the 23rd stall at the entrance of the black market. This is the 17th stall. Lear thought in his mind and came to the 23rd stall. In front of him, an old man with a broken right arm and gray hair sat on a small stool, with colorful oars in front of him. Is this a tomb robber? Lear could not see any traces, and it was difficult to connect these oars with tomb robbery. Who would bury oars in a grave for no reason? Well, except for the dwarves. But there is only this one entrance to the entire black market. He silently bent down and began to search for the crystal ball. The old man with a broken arm saw Lear's action, just glanced at him, did not speak, and still carefully rubbed the inky black oar in his hand. Lear was also happy to be quiet, but the stall was so small, there were only 30 or 40 oars, and it would not take long to look through them, and there was no trace of the crystal ball at all. He looked at the old man and was about to speak. At this moment, a warm sun pierced through the mist in the sky. It lit up the entire city of Loran. An orange-red sun appeared in sight. The sun rose. At the same time, 3 men in ragged clothes, carrying large leather bags and smelling of mud came to Lear's side. The dull-faced and thin man in the middle had a 7-color bamboo dragonfly inserted diagonally on his backpack. The crooked appearance was quite childish. In this gray-black market, it looked very strange. The 3 of them didn't say anything. They looked at the empty space on the side and directly stretched out a yellow dirty cloth and spread it on the ground. He opened the backpack behind him and began to take out items clumsily. The man carrying the 7-color bamboo dragonfly slowly took out a yellow crystal ball from his backpack. Lear's pupils shrank sharply. Turning his head, he saw that this group of people had inserted themselves in front of the ore stall and became the 23rd stall. He took a deep breath, suppressed his inner emotions, moved his steps, and said softly, "Everyone, can you take a look at these things?" The 3 of them immediately looked up at Lear, and only a pair of dark eyes could be seen under the cloak. The dull-looking man put the crystal ball slightly aside and said in a muffled voice, "Of course, but if you are not going to buy it, please take it lightly. This thing is a bit old." Looking at some items with the soil still not dry, Lear nodded. "That's natural. Even the standard armor of the Royal Legion of the Griffin Empire is sold. Things dug out from the tomb are not rare." From inside to outside, one by one, he checked it. After 10 minutes, he slowly held the crystal ball. It was the size of a fist, with the coldness of a rock. The surface was covered with scratches and traces that were difficult to clean after being buried underground for a long time. His eyes were a little subtle. Who would have thought that such an inconspicuous thing would hide a godhood that was enough to drive the world crazy? After carefully studying it for a moment, he casually put it down. He checked other objects. The 3 of them didn't care. This thing was for sale. If you like it, everything will be fine. However, it was obvious that this guy just happened to come across it and took a look. They didn't have much hope of selling it. It would be nice to have someone to gather people's attention. After almost going through all the objects on the stall, Lear tentatively picked up an ivory bowl. "What price are you willing to pay for this one?" The thin and dull man said in a low voice. 10 gold coins, no bargaining." Lear held up the second piece. "Then this ivory cup. 12 gold coins are the same price." After asking 7 or 8 questions, he pointed lightly. "This crystal ball, 10 gold coins." When the price was spoken, Lear's eyes were fixed. After asking about the prices of several more items, he hesitated and chose 7. Finally, he reluctantly put back 4 items, leaving 3 items. "Guys, I buy 3 pieces at one time, can I get some discount?" When the dull man saw Lear really looking like he was buying, his face became a little more lively and no longer looked like a dead tree. Even the one-armed old man selling ore turned his head and took a look. "We sacrificed our lives to get these. The price is always the same, but if you buy it sincerely, I will give you 28 gold coins for these 3 pieces." Lear's eyes moved slightly and he said seriously, "How about 20 silver coins? Make a friend." The man's expression changed when he looked at Lear. This guy was not bargaining for a price, he was here to behead someone. "Impossible, this is an absolutely impossible price we risk our lives to get." He had to do a good job in acting, and after a lot of intensive bargaining, Lear finally bought 3 ancient things that had just been dug out of the tomb for 20 gold coins. The yellow crystal ball is among them. Both parties are very satisfied with the transaction. Only the old man selling the ore had some regret in his eyes. He had known that this was someone who had been taken advantage of, so he had introduced him. Who knew this guy was so easy to deceive? Lear put away a few items, and suddenly saw the unique colorful bamboo dragonfly on the opponent's backpack out of the corner of his eye. After hesitating for a moment, he said slowly, "Your Excellency, can this bamboo dragonfly bear the pain of parting with you?" The man was stunned for a moment, then silently took off the bamboo dragonfly, with a slight smile on his face. "My daughter gave this to me this morning. If you like it, I will give it to you." Daughter. Lear was silent. In this world of cannibalism, no one has an unspeakable situation behind them. "Thank you for your generosity." Holding the childlike colorful bamboo dragonfly in his hand, Lear slowly walked out of the black market, his face calm, but his mood was turbulent. Swamp Godhead, the most core thing of the gods. The most precious treasure in the world is in his hands at this moment. This is enough to drive anyone crazy. The corners of the mouth under the hood were slightly raised, and then gradually widened until they were crazy. In just 2 days, he already had Wang's awe. The moment Lear walked out of the black market and left the 9th block, the intelligence system in his mind suddenly moved. You have completed 6-star intelligence, obtained the key item, Swamp Godhead. Triggered 3 additional related intelligences. Note: each time you complete 4-star intelligence or above, you can trigger additional related intelligences. 1. Dropping blood on the crystal ball can allow the Godhead to completely integrate into the soul. Note: when integrating into the Godhead, you will fall asleep for 10 hours, so please pay attention to your own safety. 2. Tomorrow morning, the territory of the Pioneer Lord will be allocated. You can choose the Silt Swamp as your territory. There is a part of the Swamp Authority hidden in it. Controlling this part of authority can greatly increase the power of the Godhead. 3. The second area of the slave market, the 13th shop, the Dragon Fang Chamber of Commerce, will sell 2 squadrons of wetland lizardmen tomorrow afternoon. The level is 6th level primary night. The wetland lizardmen are brutal by nature, the slave traders can no longer tolerate this, and they need to get rid of them quickly. They can be bought at a price far below the market price. After buying this batch of slaves, they can use the Swamp Godhead to directly subdue these swamp creatures as the initial army to open up the territory. Lear looked at the refreshed information in his mind with surprise. Completing the information above 4 stars can also trigger additional related information. This is absolutely amazing. Look carefully. The first one is about the information on controlling authority. After controlling the Godhead, you will fall asleep for 10 hours. This key information made him certain. He also made extra preparations. Now that he has accurate information, he doesn't have to be so nervous. The second point is that choosing the Silt Swamp as the territory also hides a part of the Swamp Authority. He was moved. This information is worth at least 5 stars. Godhead is the carrier of the power of the gods, while authority is the concrete manifestation of the power of the gods. Getting the Godhead is like getting a container with nothing in it, and authority is the water that fills the container. If you only have the Godhead but no authority, you cannot exert the power of the gods. If you only have authority but no Godhead, you cannot control authority. Both are indispensable. The selection of the territory tomorrow will be done by many pioneering lords together, and they must not let others get ahead. He is determined to take the Silt Swamp. In the excitement, he looked at the last one. There are level 6 wetland lizard slaves in the slave market, and the other party will sell them at a price far below the market price, and the Godhead can be used to completely subdue these lives. This information is not as valuable as the Swamp Authority, but it is also not cheap. Now he only has a few dozen gold coins in his hand. Becoming a pioneer lord, the empire will support some materials, but the most fundamental thing is to prepare it yourself. Moreover, not to mention that those pioneering materials may be allocated and embezzled at any time. He can't even get together the most basic pioneering team now. 2 squadrons, that is 200 people, and they are level 6 beginner knights. This force is nothing for the huge city of Loran, but it is very good for ordinary pioneering lords. The normal price of a level 6 beginner knight is at least hundreds of gold coins. This news made him see the possibility of paying the full price. If not, then go to Jebe, Her Highness Philena, and borrow some more. Everyone is so familiar with each other, it shouldn't be difficult to borrow some. Right. The additional refreshed information has no value, but it is very important. Go to the central square, Rose House. The driver immediately became respectful when he heard the name. Sir, please. Rose House is the top hotel in Loran City, where all kinds of nobles stay. The most ordinary room costs as much as 1 gold coin a day. It is said that there are also high-end suites, and each day of stay requires 10 gold coins. 10 gold coins. He worked hard for a year, but he could only earn 6 gold coins. Even if you work hard for a year without eating or drinking, you can't afford to stay for a night. Half an hour later, the carriage stopped in front of a spacious and elegant building. The colorful floating glass is dazzling, and the exquisite reliefs on the wall are obviously the work of a master. The pure white angel statues stand on both sides of the gate, exuding a faint sacred majesty. The priests of the sect have engraved magic on them, which can distinguish evil lives such as demons and vampires. On the wide lawn, clusters of roses are in full bloom, full of vitality. The staff in uniform greeted and sent off respectfully, all of which showed their luxury. Lear got off the car, and was greeted by the doorman. He entered calmly and passed through the luxurious and spacious hall. Stepping on the elevator built by the dwarves, he slowly went up to the 10th floor. After telling the staff in the corridor who were waiting for orders at any time that he was going to rest and not to be disturbed, and hanging up the "Do Not Disturb" wooden sign, he entered the house. Lock the door and draw the curtains. After taking off the cloak, Lear breathed a sigh of relief. After hearing the news about the sale of the lava fruit saplings and blue crystal grass, he came to live in the Rose House. This most luxurious hotel in Loran City is owned by Philena, the Flower of the North. The Grand Duke's mansion is about a kilometer away in front. The guard force in this area is more than 10 times that of other areas. The Rose House is definitely one of the safest areas in Loran City. The 9th district is too chaotic. There was no choice before, but at this moment, with an infinite future, it is stupid to put oneself in an uncertain and harsh environment. Place the 3 items on the table. Lear ignored the other 2 items and stared at the crystal ball with stubborn stains. His emotions gradually rose. He took another look at the 2 pieces of information before and after. This is the broken godhead of the swamp god. You can control this part of the swamp godhead by dripping blood on the crystal. Dropping blood on the crystal ball can make the godhead completely integrated into the soul. When it is integrated into the godhead, you will fall asleep for 10 hours. Bite your index finger and drip blood on the crystal ball in pain. The blood fell into the crystal ball. It was as if a switch was pressed, and the light was shining. The dim room was as bright as day. A strange energy began to surge. The energy did not radiate, but circulated around the crystal ball. The blood was like a fuse, guiding the energy to surge in. Lear only felt a surging, sacred, majestic, and starry energy suddenly infused into his body. His soul was also cleansed at this moment. The energy was so overwhelming that it fell into a deep sleep after reaching a certain limit. The crystal ball was like a sun that never stopped, continuously infusing energy. Sacred, majestic, and untouchable. It lasted for 5 hours before slowly subsiding. Finally, the crystal ball completely extinguished, fell from his hand, and fell on the bed. There was no more energy flowing in the room. At this moment, no one knew that Lear's soul was undergoing an amazing transformation. I don't know how long it took, but Lear felt in a daze that every cell in his body had undergone transformation. Deep in my soul, I feel fuller than ever before. It was like a person who had been thirsty for 10 days in the desert finally drank clean water. After a long time, he slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, an unprecedented energy surged in the body. Concentrating on perception, an energy vortex exuding faint blue power quietly emerged in his mind, like an energy vortex swallowing everything on the sea. One word immediately emerged: the seed of magic. He condensed the magic seed. He became a mage. Lear was pleasantly surprised. Ha ha ha, finally stepped into the extraordinary path. Extraordinary, this world's only and most direct channel for advancement. What's more important is that if you continue to grow extraordinary, you will eventually be able to destroy a city by one person, cut off mountains and open seas with your bare hands, and possess supreme power. Things that can only exist in fantasy on Earth can be done in this fantasy world. The mood suddenly rose. The seed of life is the knight's transcendent path, which will be condensed in the heart. And the seeds of magic, which are the magician's extraordinary ways, will gather in the mind. The two are not the same, but they are equally transcendent. Taking a deep breath, I sensed it again. Suddenly I found that in the center of the vortex of the magic seed, a broken, light blue crystal was floating in the magic power. Swamp Godhead. The moment he sensed the Godhead, a panel quietly appeared in Lear's mind. Lil Ayers. Identity: Pioneer Lord. Territory: none yet. Level: Trainee Mage Level 3. Magic: 300. Potential: 2 stars. Promotion progress: 1%. Level limit 9. Racial talent: Learning. You can learn the knowledge of any race. Skill: Wetland Touch 1 star, can grow casts an energy containing vitality, covering a 3*3 meter area, which can speed up the recovery of injuries and can restore up to 15% of the health value. The recovery effect of the cast on the swamp people's life is increased to 30%. The residual power of the gods 1 star, can grow exudes the residual power of the swamp god, which will shock the target. If the shock is successful, it will leave a mark on its soul and surrender forever. The worse the target's condition, the weaker the resistance, and the higher the success rate. If the shock fails, the opponent will fall into rage and attack back. Godhead, Swamp, 10%. Authority: not in control. Evaluation: the fate of a lord who has taken control of the swamp godhead has quietly changed. His detailed attributes are displayed above. Is this an additional function of the intelligence system activated? Lear was very excited. After this, he could understand his own power more intuitively. Looking further, he has not awakened any power before, but in just 10 hours, he has directly become a level 3 trainee mage. And he also gained 2 growth-producing skills, Wetland Touch and God's remaining power. Lear felt the movement of the magic seed and was in a wonderful mood. This feeling is so comfortable. But the important gain is the Godhead. With concentration, the broken glass ball object in the center of the magic seed exudes a faint blue light and unspeakable pressure. It's like an ancient god was conceived in it. The broken Godhead of the swamp god. This broken Godhead has 10% weight. In the future, when the remaining fragments of the Godhead are gathered together, he will become a true god. Get to the top of this world. He slowly stood up, opened the curtains, and looked out the window. At this moment, the sun is slowly setting in the west, and the afterglow of the setting sun is shining on half of the sky. The colorful sunset is as gorgeous as being burned by flames. The majestic, prosperous and majestic city flows in the eyes. Lear could hear his own heartbeat beating loudly and powerfully. The corners of his mouth curled up, and then gradually became arrogant and wanton. Stretch out your right hand and slowly tighten it towards the front. At this moment, the whole world is in your hands. The next day, July 9th. This is an inconspicuous day among countless days and nights, but it is an extremely important day for the pioneer lords who are about to go to the wilderness to occupy new lands for the kingdom. Because today, they will choose their own territory to develop and at the same time distribute development materials. For nobles with family support, these supplies are better than nothing. But for the down-and-out nobles, this resource is a matter of life and death. At 9 o'clock in the morning, carriages stopped at the east entrance of the Grand Duke's residence. This is the center of Lawland City's government affairs. An administrative agency composed of thousands of government officials handles all affairs of Lawland City efficiently here. Some government orders can even directly affect the situation in the northern province. Today's pioneer lords have gathered in one of the spacious halls as instructed. When Lear arrived, there were hundreds of people in the house. 2s and 3s gathered together to talk. However, they were all restrained and did not make any loud noises. Lear put on a black noble robe engraved with the mark of a golden luangwei flower. This was the only thing that the original man was reluctant to sell, the last thing left for him by the Ayers family. The golden luangwa is the coat of arms of the Ayers family. Before inheriting the title, he was even deprived of the qualification to wear clothing engraved with the family crest, a privilege that only nobles could enjoy. If you are found pretending to be a noble, or wearing clothes with noble emblems without authorization, according to the imperial law, you will be severely punished. At the least, half of your property will be confiscated, and at the worst, you will be exiled. In order to maintain their class privileges, the nobles who control power are firm and cold-blooded. There are hundreds of people in the room, and everyone holds their chests high, showing their family emblems. Even if they are in a bad state, they cannot fall from the glory of the nobility. Lear saw that the ceremony had not yet begun, and found an empty seat to sit down. As soon as his butt touched the stool, two nobles wearing pure white noble robes, long golden hair draped over their shoulders, and holding their heads high also sat on one side. Both of them had a bit of arrogance on their faces, ignoring others, and chatted by themselves. The slightly older one had some emotion. Every year before the pioneer lord sets out, the Grand Duke will appoint his confidants to bless and encourage him. 5 years ago, the Grand Duke even came in person. I really envy those guys for being able to meet a legendary figure like the Grand Duke. That's the most powerful extraordinary person in my northern territory. 100 years ago, he killed an adult dragon with his bare hands. The younger one said proudly. When we build a town in the occupied wilderness, the Grand Duke will naturally summon us. The other party nodded in appreciation. That's true. But it is said that this year, Princess Philina may come to encourage and practice. The tone of voice was a bit fanatical. Flower of the North, Loran rose. What an honor it would be to be awarded by her personally. The young noble's eyes also lit up. I heard that no suitor has been able to gain the favor of His Highness. If we can be noticed by His Highness, it would be worth it even if we die. Lear listened silently, with a subtle look in his eyes. Jabe, Philina, the eldest daughter of the Grand Duke, is really a goddess in the eyes of ordinary people. He didn't feel anything about the other party's status. The only thing that made him curious was what kind of reward this princess of Lowland City would pay. She is already a goddess, so she can't be any worse. Suddenly, the discussion of the crowd gradually disappeared until it was completely quiet. Lear noticed something strange and immediately turned his head to look. At the main entrance, a beautiful figure wearing a luxurious embroidered white tassel dress and pure black hollow-printed gloves on both hands slowly walked in. The flaxen long hair behind the head seemed to float in the water, without gravity fluctuations. Her appearance was exquisite and flawless, and her eyes were deep and blue like the purest gem, which made people addicted. Every move was elegant and classical, pleasing to the eye. Wherever she passed, it was like spring flowers blooming and the breeze blowing on her face. Like the warm sun in winter, it was soul-stirring. It gave people an extremely beautiful reverie. Your Highness Philina. These pioneering lords just woke up from their dreams. They excitedly held their chests and bowed, kowtowed to this flower of the North, the star of the empire. Use the most humble attitude to express the truest feelings in their hearts. The two noble descendants who were as proud as peacocks were so excited that their faces flushed at this moment. They knelt on one knee, as if they wanted to climb up and kiss the path each other had walked. That posture made Lear amazed. Step by step, the beautiful figure passed through the crowd and saw Lear standing calmly. Their eyes met. Lear gently pressed his right hand on his shoulder and lowered his head slightly. A standard noble greeting. Philina showed a little smile in her eyes, and also gently touched her shoulder with her right hand and returned the greeting. As for the others, they all performed the etiquette of subordinates or even servants. As a venerable, she only needed to nod. Only her companions were qualified to let her return the gift. Good day, Lord Lil Else. Hearing the other party speak up, Lil nodded gently. Good day, Her Highness Philina. The two noble descendants who were kneeling on one knee below suddenly raised their heads and looked at Lil beside them. Their eyes were full of astonishment. Who was the other party? Why did the goddess personally greet him? Their solemn knightly salute could not attract the other party to look at them more. The two of them inexplicably felt that they were like funny clowns in a circus. The knightly etiquette that symbolized glory became extremely awkward. Philina's simple greeting made Lear's thin figure the focus of the whole audience. However, neither of them took the gazes of others seriously. As a 16th level archmage, the glory of the empire, and the princess of Loran City, Philina was the focus of everyone's attention wherever she went. She was the absolute protagonist and focus. The gazes of these pioneering lords were worthless. And Lear had enough confidence, whether it was the intelligence system or the godhead. After integrating the godhead, his state of mind had undergone a transformation. Even an outstanding flower of the North like Philina could not make waves in his heart. Elegantly coming to the high platform in the hall, Philina's deep eyes like gems slowly scanned the crowd. The voice was neither slow nor fast, from weak to strong, until it was sonorous and powerful. The Griffin Empire was established in ruins. It has been passed down for more than 2,000 years. Our ancestors have made great contributions to the empire. They have shed blood for the empire. Everyone has a glorious past and has left an indelible mark in history. No matter how long we have been in ruins, no matter whether we are old and dilapidated, we will never forget the glorious past. Today, everyone will regain the glory and honor of the past and embark on the road to conquer the wilderness. No matter success or failure, when you stand in front of me and are willing to bear the honor of the nobility, you are already the winner. Cowardly death or glorious bloom. You have made your choice. Heroes of the Griffin Empire, people of Loran City. I am proud of you. The clear and firm voice, at this moment, is like a shot of adrenaline, hitting everyone's heart. Being praised generously by such a dazzling goddess. Each of them was so excited that their faces flushed and their blood boiled. They wanted to rush into the wilderness and open up their territory immediately. They were praised by the goddess as heroes. Yes, heroes. It was as if at this moment, they had successfully opened up their territory and returned with honor. Lear's eyes moved slightly. It is difficult to understand this emotion without being in this environment and experiencing the life of a down-and-out noble. Next, please choose the territory to be opened up by the pioneer lords. You can open up the territory alone or together. The territory that already has an owner or has been chosen cannot be chosen again. The purpose of recruiting pioneer lords is to open up the wilderness and occupy land for the empire, not for internal fighting. So when planning, disputes will be avoided as much as possible. The wilderness is extremely dangerous, and a single pioneer lord cannot complete it, so they can also form a group to open up the territory. This is often the best choice for those down-and-out nobles. If one person can't do it, then 2, 5 or even 10 people can form a group, right? In this way, many pioneer lords have successfully established their territories. However, this also means that one's power must be shared with others, and whether it is good or bad depends on personal choice. The areas that have been selected for development can only be selected again if they cannot build towns after 5 years. The developed territories are of vital importance to you all, please consider carefully before making a choice. The voice fell. Philena waved slightly. A majestic magic power surged out. A light blue magic map image emerged behind her. Mountains, rivers, grass, trees and gravel are all on it. The rivers flow slowly, and the grass and trees drift in the wind, full of vitality and lifelike. This is a wilderness map, drawn by the continuous exploration of Loran City for thousands of years. There will be updates every year. The green areas that have been circled are the areas that the reclamation lords are reclaiming or the areas that have not expired within the 5-year period. They cannot be selected. The remaining areas are left for you to choose. Looking around, there are 200 or 300 scattered green areas. Half of them show town icons. Compared with the huge map, it is inconspicuous. This alone shows the risks faced by pioneering lords. The city of Loran was established for 1,000 years, and during this period, a large number of pioneering lords went to the wilderness every year. But in such a long time, only 100 territories were established steadily. Among them, most of them are small towns with thousands or tens of thousands of people. Moreover, most of them are within 300 to 500 kilometers from Loran City, far from the wilderness. Many people realized this, and the excitement in their eyes gradually cooled down. But more people saw the icons of the towns above, and their eyes were full of heat. They knew that several cities even had a population of more than 200,000. Those nobles who established territories enjoyed the power to cover the sky with one hand. And Loran City, the largest city in the northern province, the pride of the Griffin Empire, was also founded in the wilderness by the first generation of the Loran family 1,000 years ago. The other party is the first generation of pioneering lords. The example of the role model is always inspiring them to move forward. They will also occupy a place in it. Now, you can start making your choice. Today is your time. After the words fell, a voice rang out in the crowd. Your Highness, I have made my choice. The crowd immediately turned to look at the person who made the voice. He was wearing a black robe, heroic and extraordinary, with a golden phoenix tail flower emblem engraved on his chest. It was that young man again. Philina looked at the slightly thin but calm figure, her eyes moved slightly. Sir Lil else, your choice is. Lil pointed to the only marked area on the map. Mud swamp. After the word was spoken, everyone looked at the map, and then there was a commotion. Mud swamp. Ah, that area is at least more than 1,000 kilometers away from Loran City. It takes more than half a month to get there, how dare he? Don't want to die. Philina was also a little strange. Sir, I have to remind you. So far, no one has established a territory thousands of miles away from the wilderness. The danger in the depths of the wilderness is beyond imagination. Lil said slowly. If no one, then I will be the first. On the wilderness, only this swamp hides power. Entering the swamp is like a dragon entering the sea and a tiger going up the mountain forest. From then on, the sky is high and the birds fly, and the sea is wide and the fish jump. As soon as the voice fell, the faces of the people in the room changed again. A bit of respect rose in his eyes. Regardless of the other party's true purpose and thoughts, this is so inspiring. Isn't that what we pioneer lords do? If there is no one, then we will be the first. If you don't have this courage, how can you become a pioneer lord? Those who can be greeted by His Highness are indeed extraordinary people. Philina's eyes moved slightly and she looked at him deeply. Sir Lear, your courage is admirable. From the beginning, the other party was full of firmness and strong self-confidence. She could feel that it was not arrogance, the arrogance of looking down on the wilderness, but the confidence emanating from the depths of his heart. That kind of power is quite contagious. She couldn't figure out why the descendant of a noble family that had already failed and lived in the slums was so confident. At this moment, a rare expectation rose. Chapter 11. After choosing the territory to be developed, Lear did not stay for too long. After nodding to Philina, he turned and left the hall. In the afternoon, there will be wetland lizardmen for sale, which is the power he needs for development. Tomorrow is July 10th, and there will be new information refreshed, which makes him full of expectations. But just after leaving the hall, Jasmine, the maid who drove for Philina in Rose Manor, stopped him. Lord Lear, please follow me to the side hall. His Highness summons you. The other party's long golden hair shines like the sun, which is impressive. Is this Philina's return gift? Lear became interested and followed the other party into another smaller side hall. Sit down and make tea. After waiting for a moment, a figure with elegant and classical gestures walked in slowly, and the long hair of the Amazon color floated in the air, mysterious and unpredictable. Lord Lear, I've been waiting for a long time. Lear looked at this beautiful woman respected by countless people. Your Highness seems to have something important to tell you. Philina came up to him and looked at him with interest. Sir Lear, you still owe me 100 gold coins. Are you going to leave without saying a few more words? That was the money I borrowed with my own ability. Lear was justified. We are all friends. When I expand the territory and make money, I will pay you back double. Friends? Philina laughed. It's really my honor. After joking for a few words, she continued without waiting for him to speak. Your Excellency's choice of the mud swamp is indeed a bit beyond my expectation. But I think it is a choice after careful consideration, so I won't say much. The blue crystal grass was taken back yesterday. She said with gratitude on her face. This is the magic plant I need for promotion. Your Excellency helped me a lot. Things needed for promotion. No wonder he is so eager. Lear understood it now. However, the other party is already a level 16 archmage, and he still wants to be promoted. Isn't this going to level 17? This is a real genius. Your Highness lent me 100 gold coins and helped me a lot. We are even. The other party got the promotion, so did he. What he got was 100 times and 1,000 times higher. Philina smiled. Sir Lear, you can't calculate it like this. I sent someone to understand your situation, so I specially prepared some supplies for you. I hope it can help you. Jasmine. After the voice fell, the blonde maid stepped forward and handed him a list with a long list of supplies. Food, farm tools, ironware, etc., a total of 30 carriages with scattered supplies. In addition, there is a highlight 1,000 gold coins in cash, 200 sets of standard armor of the Loran City Guard Corps, plus 100 slave craftsmen. After reading the list carefully, Lear took a deep look at this Loran rose. This gift is too heavy. Philina noticed his gaze and smiled. Are you satisfied, Lord Lear? These supplies are fine, the most expensive are the 200 sets of armor. Ordinary standard armor costs as much as 20 gold coins per set, and ordinary people can only afford it if they work for 4 or 5 years without eating or drinking. 200 sets are worth 4,000 gold coins. A worker has to work for 800 years. Your Highness, I will remember this favor. Hearing this, Philina blinked. Aren't we friends? Why be so polite? Lear stared at the other party for a moment and suddenly smiled. Then let's meet again, Lear, else say hello to you, Philina Loran. Hearing this, the maid next to him changed her face slightly. How can ordinary people call the noble prince by his name? But Philina keenly sensed the sincerity. Inexplicably felt a little honored in her heart. Crazy. Would she feel honored to be recognized by a descendant of a fallen noble? It was such an inexplicable emotion. But her eyes softened. Philina Loran, hello, Lil else. She didn't know why the other party was so confident. Since yesterday, she has never been timid in front of her. Even though she still lives in a slum like the 9th block. But the confidence that emanates from the other party from the inside out is not fake, so she has a unique demeanor and charm. She has seen countless outstanding people, so she will not have any boring heartbeats because of this, but she is still looking forward to the other party's actions in the wilderness. I hope you can show your trump card and let me see what is supporting your soul. Don't let me down. Thinking, Philina seemed to think of something, and waved her hand, and a small and exquisite wooden cage appeared out of thin air in her hand. There was a fat gray worm eating green leaves inside, just like a cabbage worm. He handed the cage to Lear, speaking in a subtle tone. Sir Lear, this is a strange creature I accidentally found in an ancient ruins before, the swamp mudworm. This creature is very suitable for breeding in swamps. Lear said that when the swamp mudworm grows up, it can prey on dragons. However, it seems that it has been sleeping in the ruins for too long. I fed it a lot of magic plants, but it couldn't replenish its essence. Perhaps it will recover after entering the swamp. Swamp mudworm, as a testimony of our friendship, I present it to you. Lear reached out to take it, looking at the little finger-sized worm, quite surprised. This little thing can prey on dragons when it grows up. It is indeed a fantasy world, it is not reasonable at all. As for what the other party said, it is not big to feed. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. Swamp Godhead controls the life of the swamp. Thank you for your kindness, Your Highness. He took out something from his arms with a bit of heartache and looked at the other party seriously. Your Highness is so generous, I naturally can't be stingy. This is my most beloved thing. I present it to Your Highness as a testimony of friendship. Philina and the maid behind her looked together, only to see a crooked, childish and colorful bamboo dragonfly in his hand. The maid was stunned. Just like this, Your Highness gave so many things, and you use this thing to fool Your Highness. Philina took it seriously, looked at the crooked colorful bamboo dragonfly, and smiled. The room was like spring flowers blooming, the winter sun was warm, the air was bright, and people felt infinite beauty. She put it away solemnly and said seriously, I accept your gift. It's the first time someone has given me such a special gift. The 3 slender white fingers of her right hand were slowly placed on her eyebrows, and slightly raised to the sky. May the goddess be with you forever. She looked deeply at this boy who was a little thin, but had an extraordinary demeanor and deep eyes. I hope you can come back alive from the wilderness, my friend. After leaving the office area of the Grand Duke's mansion, Lear got on a carriage on the side of the road and went straight to the slave market. The slave market is in another direction and takes an hour. In the carriage, looking at the scenery on both sides of the road, he fell into deep thought. Just when he stared at Philina, an attribute panel appeared in his mind. Philina. Level. Archmage level 16. Potential. ? He can not only see his own attributes, but also those of outsiders. This made him tremble. The intelligence system is awesome. But the gap in strength between the two sides is too large to see more details. The blonde maid named Jasmine beside the other party is as high as level 12, a high-level knight. She can directly serve as a professor in the Royal Academy of the Griffin Empire. It's exaggerated. Still need to work hard. Retract your mind and focus on intelligence. After completing 6-star intelligence and obtaining the fragments of the divine nature, 2 of the 3 additional intelligences triggered have been completed. Integrate the divine nature into the soul and choose the silt swamp as the territory. Next, the third piece of information. 3. The second area of the slave market, the 13th shop, the Dragon Fang Chamber of Commerce, will sell 2 squadrons of wetland lizardmen tomorrow afternoon. The level is 6th level primary night. The wetland lizardmen are brutal by nature, the slave traders can no longer tolerate this, and they need to get rid of them quickly. They can be bought at a price far below the market price. After buying this batch of slaves, they can use the swamp godhead to directly subdue these swamp creatures as the initial army to open up the territory. There is no specific time, he needs to go there earlier. If they are bought by others, then the pioneering power in his hands will have to be found again. It may not be possible to find such a suitable one. He took the 1,000 gold coins that Philena gave him with him, and the rest of the supplies were sent to the Rose House according to his request. It was originally the other party's industry, which was convenient. At noon, before 12 o'clock, Lear arrived at the slave market. This extraordinary fantasy world with a civilization level similar to that of medieval Europe is not a good place. There are many races, strong demand, and huge profits. All these factors have led to the prosperity of the slave trade. The slave trade in Block 22 is the largest slave market in the north. Slaves captured by slave traders in the wilderness will be transported here for sale. Similarly, nobles who have needs will come here to buy slaves. The scale and architecture of the slave market are much larger than those of the black market. It is open day and night, and the flow of people is better than that of the black market. Get off the bus, pay, and enter the market. What comes to you is a Gothic building with a dark shadow, like a dark cloud covering the sun. When you step into it, the light on both sides becomes dim. The hollow wall reliefs depict various magnificent scenes, knights charging, demons slaughtering the world, angels descending, and heroic epics. They are all carved on them. The arched, tall rose-shaped windows on the outer wall transmit dark light and endless mystery. The streets are spacious, but too many people seem very crowded. The air was filled with the smell of dampness and corruption, mixed with all kinds of disgusting body odor, sewers, feces and other pungent smells. It made people feel stinging in the eyes. On both sides of the street, there were shops run by slave traders, and rows of crowded slave cages were placed at the door, stacked like building blocks. These cages were woven from thick steel, and the slaves in the cages were half-dressed, and some were even naked. Their faces were withered and their eyes were haggard, but most of them flashed fierce or angry light in their eyes. There were countless races of slaves, orcs, grey dwarves, banshees, half-elves, snakemen, barbarians, and tauren. There were warriors captured by war, civilians captured by slave traders, and humans who were driven by poverty and hunger and sold themselves. Lear looked around and saw that the largest number of slaves were the most common orcs in the wilderness. These canine teeth protruded from their lips, they were strong and fierce, and they looked like orcs in World of Warcraft, but they were 10 times more brutal. In the wilderness, humans have always been regarded as food. Now, they have become slaves. These strong lives are also the most popular, as long as they are controlled by the ring of slavery. They are the best tools, whether it is the Colosseum, guarding, or labor, they are particularly useful. Lear did not pay too much attention to them. Orcs are easy to use and their prices are much higher than ordinary slaves. He can't buy many with the 1,000 gold coins in his hand. Continue to search according to the intelligence. With an accurate target, after asking the market management staff who patrolled several times, he soon came to the second area of the slave market and found the target of this trip. Dragon Tooth Chamber of Commerce. The plaque written in the common language of the continent solidified the second ring magic language general knowledge. As long as you see the plaque, whether you can recognize the words or not, you can instantly understand the meaning of it. This is a message transmitted directly from the spirit. It's amazing. Enter the Chamber of Commerce. A businessman in his early 50s with a big belly, a round hat inlaid with gems, a gorgeous blue robe, and a kind smile came out. Dear guest, welcome to the Dragon Fang Chamber of Commerce. I am the president of the Dragon Fang Chamber of Commerce, Mackin rolled. How can I help you? The smiling face gave people a very comfortable feeling. President Mackin, I need to buy a group of slaves to expand the territory. The other party's eyes lit up. I felt you were extraordinary at first sight, and obviously had a long family heritage. I didn't expect it to be true. We have enough slave resources here, you can choose whatever you want. The best-selling ones now are Orcs and Tauren, and the price is not expensive, only 200 gold coins each. Lear said softly, does your merchant have slaves from the Swamp tribe for sale? Swamp. The smiling merchant showed a little surprise on his face. You chose the Swamp as the territory to be developed. It's not common to see you so confident. I think you have a long-term plan. You will definitely complete the development and build a new Loran city. After praising loudly, he began to introduce. We can provide you with 3 types of slaves: Swamp Orcs, Murlocs and Mud Dwarves. Swamp Orcs are slightly weaker than ordinary Orcs in combat, but they are adapted to Swamp survival and have reached level 4. They are well-deserved beginner knights, and the price is not high, only 50 gold coins each. Murlocs have silky skin and swamp life, which is very suitable for development, but their combat power is not strong. They are level 3 apprentice knights and are priced at 20 gold coins each. Mud Dwarves, a variant of dwarves, are also suitable for swamp survival. They are level 3 apprentice knights and are priced the same as Murlocs, 20 gold coins each. Do you think these can meet your requirements? Lear raised his eyebrows slightly. No, lizardmen. He stared at the other party. These are too ordinary. Is there any more powerful one? More powerful. He narrowed his eyes and shook his head after thinking for a moment. There are not many swamps in the wilderness, and there are only some very small areas, so there are few slaves of the Swamp tribe. As far as I know, there are only these 3 types of swamp slaves that are easier to capture for sale in the entire slave market. Lear's eyes narrowed slightly. No, the information is wrong. While he was wondering, a young staff member came to him quickly and whispered. President, those wetland lizardmen are rioting again. McKen, with a big belly, raised his eyebrows, his face was a little angry, and then he became helpless. Those fools. What does the Colosseum say? Still don't want it. The Colosseum said, the wetland lizardmen are too cruel and not conducive to management. He didn't finish his words, but the meaning was already very clear. The fat president also had a headache. I wanted to buy this batch of wetland lizardmen and sell them to the Colosseum to make a lot of money. But these fools are too cruel, and even places like the Colosseum are despised. It's amazing. At this moment, a slightly curious voice sounded beside him. Wetland lizardmen, sir, what level are they? The fat president turned his head and looked at the boy who had just entered the house. Hesitantly said, they are all level 6, beginner knights, but those lizardmen are extremely ferocious. Even with the ring of slavery, they cannot suppress their ferocity. He said tactfully, if you are a pioneer, I suggest you buy swamp orcs or half fishmen. Wetland lizardmen are not suitable for you. Lear had a little liking for this smiling president. Selling without catching people, there is still a basic bottom line. It doesn't matter if you take me to see it. What if those wetland lizardmen are not so ferocious? Isn't it just right? McKen smiled. This young man is really humorous. Even a place like the Colosseum despises ferocious lives, what can go wrong? Not ferocious. The other party may not know that the number of those wetland lizardmen was 3 squadrons a week ago. Now, there are only 2 squadrons left. But seeing the other party's expression of wanting to see it, he did not refuse. Okay, you come with me. It is better to sell it as soon as possible. If it is delayed for a few more days, there may be only 1 squadron left. Following the president, McKen, who had a big belly, a chubby face, and a smile in his eyes, he entered the back hall. This place is wider than the front hall. Looking around, it is full of densely packed iron cages. Stacked 3 layers high, but the air here does not have too much odor, but is quite fresh, which obviously requires a lot of effort. Going around the imprisoned slaves one by one, he came to the central area. 20 cages were placed flat on the ground one by one. At this moment, the target of this trip was imprisoned in the cage. Wetland lizardman. The body is wrapped in a thick layer of scales, and the defensibility is comparable to metal armor. The scales are green and gray-brown, which is a natural camouflage uniform, which is convenient for hiding in the swamp. Walking upright, the muscles of the thick limbs are bulging high, and the fingers are as sharp as daggers, flashing a dazzling cold light. The head is that of a lizard, the amber eyes are full of ferocity and brutality, and when the mouth is opened, razor-sharp teeth can be seen. This is a group of fierce beasts, natural killing machines. As he stared, the panel appeared in his mind again. Wetland Lizardman. Level Primary Knight, Level 6. Potential 1 star, Level Cap, Level 6. Racial Talent Amphibious Life. Wetland Lizardmen have a special lung structure, can hold their breath for a long time and take short breaths underwater. Skill Scale Armor 1 star. Passive Scale Armor has steel-like defense. Cruelty 1 star. When being hurt or attacking, it will enter a brutal state, become extremely brutal, fearless of pain, and fight the enemy to death. Equipment None. Evaluation Fierce Swamp Life. Lear felt a little surprised. Potential 1 star. His potential is 2 stars. He has never heard of potential rating. Obviously, the intelligence system has quantified everything. This way he can have an intuitive understanding. These swamp creatures have reached the upper limit of their potential, Level 6. It seems that the intelligence system still has great potential to be tapped. Seeing someone coming, those ferocious creatures with heavy shackles on their hands, feet, and even necks were immediately excited. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Quote quote. Quote exclamation mark quote. A harsh curse was uttered in the lizard language. They were in a cage, but there was no fear at all. Some even directly rammed the cage, baring their teeth and biting the iron bars, making a sharp friction sound. Seeing this scene, McKen, who was carrying a big belly, looked a little unhappy. When the other party was captured last week, there were more than 3 squadrons with a total of 342 people. Now, there are only 2 squadrons left, with 203 people. McKen turned his head and looked at Lear. The slavery ring can cause mental damage to the controlled slaves. No one can withstand the pain from the soul. But these wetland lizardmen are still crazy after being controlled by the slavery ring. His face was a bit ugly. I have been engaged in the slave trade for 20 years. I can count the races that are not afraid of the slavery ring on one hand. It is no wonder that the Colosseum is unwilling to buy these lives. The slavery ring can directly transmit pain to the soul, and the fierce orcs can't stand it. But these lives can forcibly resist. Who can they find to reason with? Lear's eyes were deep. When hurt or attacked, these lives will fall into a brutal state, fearless of pain. Although this slavery ring is a magic item, it cannot erase the opponent's nature. This is the characteristic of the wetland lizardmen. If it is an enemy, then it will be a headache, but if it is one's own subordinates, a group of killing machines that are not afraid of pain and fear. Isn't this a great happiness? Now, do you still need to buy? If you still need, I can give you the lowest price. McKen thought that Lear would back out, but he didn't expect that the other party would hesitate for a moment and ask the price indifferently. What is the lowest price? McKen raised his palm, thought about it and felt a little unsure, so he bent 3 of them. 20 gold coins. My purchase price is 40 gold coins. This deal is a blood loss. He bought it back for 30 gold coins each. But if he doesn't sell it, he is not sure how many of these 200 wetland lizardmen will be alive next week. Hurry up and get rid of these unlucky things, he really doesn't want to see it. It's better to lose a little now, not to lose a penny. 10 gold coins. I bought them all. 10 gold coins. McKen's fat face trembled, but seeing that Lear didn't seem to be very interested, he gritted his teeth. I'll sell it. These 200 people can at least recover the cost of 2,000 gold coins. If we don't sell them, there won't be a single hair left. Those who come to buy slaves are mostly fools. There is no market for wetland lizardmen. If he didn't have connections in the Colosseum, he wouldn't have planned to buy them. Who knows that the manager was suddenly transferred after the wetland lizardmen arrived, resulting in no one to take over this batch of goods, which was directly left in his hands. Lear said softly, President McKen, but there is a problem now. I have purchased too many resources recently, and I only have 1,000 gold coins left. Can you pay a deposit of 1,000 first, and then pay the remaining 1,000 gold coins 3 days later? The intelligence will be refreshed tomorrow, and you can try again then. You have a high chance of earning 1,000 gold coins. If it doesn't work, ask Jbaen and Philena to lend you some money. We are all so familiar with each other. We are old friends who have met twice. It's not too much to borrow another 1,000 gold coins, right?" Just as Mackin was about to speak, a shrill roar came. The two lizard men were like crazy, violently attacking the iron cage. The head, claws, scratching and biting frantically, and the throat made a shrill and terrifying roar. The posture was so fierce that it made people smack their tongues. Mackin turned around and looked. His face changed drastically, and he didn't have time to move. Bang bang, 2 explosions sounded. The heads of the 2 crazy wetland lizard men exploded like watermelons, and blood splattered all over the sky. Died on the spot. Slavery ring. Once the slaves enslaved by the slavery ring resisted fiercely, the slavery ring would blow off the slaves' heads. To reach this level, one must first endure the extreme, soul-tearing pain. Ordinary life simply cannot reach this level and then surrender. But in the past few days, the wetland lizard men have exploded hundreds of times. But if these lizard men are not given the ring of slavery, they will be 10 times or 100 times crazier than they are now. Mackin's face froze, and he looked at Lear worriedly. "Sir, But before he could finish his words, bang! Another explosion sounded. The smell of blood was strong again. Mackin was completely broken, roaring hysterically. "Fools, I will never buy these fools again in my life. They are really not afraid of death. Sir, 1,000 gold coins, all sold to you, now, immediately, take them away. Death is normal in this world. Even if the original body is an ordinary person and is not qualified to go hunting outside the city, you can see mutilated corpses in the alleys of the 9th block every now and then." But the exploded head of the wetland lizard man and the strong smell of blood in the air still made Lear's heart beat slightly. Seriously speaking, this is the first time he has seen such a scene. But in a breath, he forced himself to suppress the ups and downs of his emotions. In this world, there is no room for the weak to survive. In the future, this kind of scene will be a daily routine. Looking at the jumping McCann. Nothing more than the intelligence said that the other party was in a hurry to take action and 3 died in such a short time. The other party said that the number dropped by more than 100 in a week, which is not an exaggeration. On the contrary, it is a bit conservative. If this goes on, maybe when he comes again next week, there will only be a few left here. Lear said softly. President McCann, happy cooperation. McCann smiled bitterly with a big belly. You have also seen the cruelty of these lizard men. If you buy them back, I cannot give you any guarantee. He could not guarantee these lizard men here. Lear nodded. He looked at the swamp creatures that began to get agitated after smelling the blood. Of course, he said without hesitation, took out a cloth bag full of gold coins and handed it over. This is 1,000 gold coins, please confirm it, President McCann. McCann took it, weighed it, and his expression eased. He was about to open it to check, and suddenly he found a rose pattern on the cloth bag. His pupils shrank sharply. He looked up at the calm boy again. His expression had changed. He carefully handed the cloth bag to the follower beside him, whispered a few words in his ear, and then waved his hand. Go and get this slave scepter, and put the gold coins into the account. He waited for the servant to leave, and said carefully, Sir, I just saw a rose pattern on the bag. This is exclusive to Her Highness Phileena, and it is rarely used by outsiders. There are many roses as family emblems, but the unique rose pattern on it is exclusive to the flower of the north. No one dares to use it. Lear whispered. President McCann has a good eye. This 1,000 gold coins are given by Her Highness Phileena. He smiled. President McCann should also know that most pioneering lords like us are not rich. It is necessary to accept some gifts. McCann swallowed his saliva and laughed dryly. That makes sense. What the hell? That's Her Highness Phileena. You said it so lightly that such a person gave you gold coins as pioneering funds. And if it is used for pioneering, this fund is probably only a small part of it. Who is this young man? For a moment, Lear's young face became mysterious. Not long after, the attendant who had just gone down came up again, handed him a scepter half an arm long, and whispered in McCann's ear. Then McCann's fat face bloomed with a smile at a speed visible to the naked eye, and his tone became respectful. My lord, this is the slavery scepter that controls the slavery ring. The slavery rings on their necks have been connected to the scepter with magic. As long as you hold the scepter, you can easily control their life and death, and this is the latest generation of magical creations. The energy to maintain the slavery ring is the power extracted from the slaves. As long as the slaves are not dead, it will never be exhausted. Slaves controlled by the slavery ring will be punished by the slavery ring as long as they want to resist or steal the slavery scepter. It is absolutely safe. He was quite complacent at first, but he became less confident at the end. After Lear took it, he coughed dryly. Where will these slaves be sent to you? Rose House. President McKen looked as if he had expected it. That's a good place. I heard that it was a hobby of Her Highness Phileena 10 years ago. Halfway through, seeing that Lear didn't react, he smiled awkwardly and said immediately, I'll send someone over right away. However, I'm afraid the other party may not be safe. Some of them may be lost on the way. You need to make arrangements in advance. These wetland lizardmen are time bombs, and they may explode at any time. Hearing this, Lear turned his head and looked at the wetland lizardmen in the cage. Ready. Sensing his sight, the wetland lizardmen stimulated by the blood became more and more agitated. The shrill lizardman curses continued, piercing and sharp. Being pressed by shackles and controlled by the ring of slavery, the ferocity in the amber eyes did not diminish at all. Lear frowned slightly. The godhead that was floating in the seeds of magic exuded endless pressure and threatened the soul. The residual power of the god, 1 star, can grow amidst the residual power of the swamp god to intimidate the target. If the intimidation is successful, it will be engraved on its soul and it will surrender forever. The worse the target's condition and the weaker its resistance, the higher the success rate. If the intimidation fails, the opponent will fall into rage and attack back. Shut up. The scolding echoed in the hall. It seemed ordinary to outsiders. But the wetland lizardmen only felt thunder roaring in their ears at this moment. At this moment, they felt an unspeakable and difficult to express fear. It was like their god was looking down on them. That was the pressure of the origin, the fear from the deepest part of the soul. During this period of time, they were captured and tortured, deprived of water and food, imprisoned in cages, and could die at any time. For various reasons, the nerves of these wetland lizardmen have long been fragile to the extreme. The beasts will be more crazy if they are injured. If they are exposed, they will be angry at the touch. But the soul has long been weak. In just a few breaths, the body trembled uncontrollably, and the cruelty in the eyes turned into endless fear and trembling. One by one, they lowered their heads and suddenly became quiet. At this moment, Lear few was in his heart. The mental power escaped and left a mark in their souls. The moment the mark was imprinted, he could clearly sense that the hostility of these lizardmen turned into obedience and fanatical worship. From now on, these swamp lives will be under his control. McKen, who witnessed this scene, trembled in his heart, and swallowed his saliva subconsciously. Just 2 words, these ferocious beasts turned into obedient kittens. This is a wetland lizardman. In the prison, no matter how much torture is used, it can't suppress its brutal instincts. It is a swamp monster that can endure the pain of the slavery ring that penetrates its soul. Just a light word of shutting up makes them cowardly. Turning his head to look at Lear, his eyes changed. As expected of a person who was given by Her Highness Phileena to develop resources, he is unfathomable. Cooperate with the arrangement. I will take you back to the wilderness. The flat tone of the words made the wetland lizardman in the cage completely quiet down, and the suppressed restlessness disappeared without a trace. As if it has always been so gentle. President McKen, you can send them to the Rose House. McKen came back to his senses and repeatedly ordered the servants with some exclamation. Quick, send them to the Rose House immediately. Not long after, knights in heavy armor came immediately, a full 2 teams. Open the iron cage and escort the wetland lizardman out. These heavy armored knights are all mid-level knights, with a level of up to 9. Every mid-level knight, with the same equipment, can easily kill hundreds of strong men who have not condensed the seeds of life. Real high-level combat power. Even in the guard corps of Loran City, level 9 is the main elite. None of these slave traders is simple. But facing a group of brutal swamp creatures who do not know and fear death. These warriors also have some headaches. It is easy to kill the opponent, but it is annoying to escort them. But today is very strange, these brutal swamp creatures did not resist. Sir, can the shackles on them be removed? Otherwise it will be very troublesome to transport them. McKen looked at the obedient wetland lizardmen and asked cautiously. Before, he would not even think about removing the shackles for the wetland lizardmen, that was too outrageous. Lear nodded. Okay. After getting his answer, McKen was a little courageous and tried to let the soldiers remove a few shackles first. It was amazing that the lizardmen who couldn't be controlled by the slave ring really obeyed the arrangement. It seemed that the previous madness and brutality were all illusions. I recognized Lear's methods again in my heart, and my eyes were more respectful. After all the swamp lizardmen were escorted away, McKen looked at Lear with a subtle look. Sir Lear, if you still need slaves in the future, you can come to my Dragon Fang Chamber of Commerce. We will definitely give you the lowest internal price. This is the lord favored by Her Highness Philena. Just based on this relationship, he has great potential in the future. Not to mention his mysterious methods. Only such a lord can gain a foothold in the wilderness. Lear nodded. Then thank you in advance, President McKen. I will definitely bother you again in the future. Look at what you said, too polite. After a few more polite words, Lear did not stay any longer and got on the carriage arranged by the other party and returned to the Rose House. McKen looked at his back as he left, the smile on his face gradually faded, and his eyes became deep. Unfortunately, I can't afford to gamble anymore. The stakes required to invest in a pioneer lord are too high. When Lear returned to the Rose House, Jasmine, the high-level knight maid next to Philena, who was at level 12, was waiting at the door. Her golden hair was particularly dazzling. Sir Lear, the supplies sent by His Highness have been placed in the side yard, please count them. But the 100 craftsmen will not be delivered to you until tomorrow. Although I don't understand why His Highness values this downtrodden noble who lived in the slums 2 days ago. But since she has given the order, no matter how confused she is, she must ensure that the task is completed. Lear nodded slightly. Miss Jasmine, you have worked hard. Just after the two of them exchanged a few polite words, the carriages carrying the wetland lizardmen slowly stopped on the spacious flat ground. One after another, the swamp creatures covered with gray-green scales turned over. The muscles bulged high, full of power. The amber eyes were cold and ferocious, as if they were about to devour someone in the next second. When the other party's eyes swept over them, the backs of several doormen who were welcoming guests suddenly felt cold. It was too scary. Sir, all the wetland lizardmen have been delivered. The leader of the escort car strode forward. Lear looked at the armored 9th level knight and smiled. He reached out and took out a dozen silver coins and handed them over. Thank you for your hard work, everyone, please have a glass of rum. 1,000 gold coins bought a 6th level army. This wave of profit was too comfortable. It was hard not to feel happy. The leader took the silver coins and his smile on his face immediately became brighter. You're welcome. Extra money, no matter how little, is not too little, no matter how much, is not too much. After saying that, he didn't stay for long and turned around and left with 3 teams of guards. Jasmine, who was standing by, saw this scene and had a little surprise in her eyes. You bought lizardmen as guards. Lear looked at these ferocious lives, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. These are all capital for development. Yes, Miss Jasmine. The other party opened her mouth to say something, but closed it again, and finally said hesitantly. Your Highness asked, when are you going to leave? After each pioneering lord chooses a territory to develop, he has a month to prepare. When the deadline expires, he must go to the Grand Duke's mansion to apply for an extension, which cannot exceed 3 months at most. If he has not set off after 3 months, he will be punished by imperial law. At the least, he will be exiled and his property will be confiscated, and at the most, he will be directly executed for desertion. In this extraordinary world, you can't even escape. I can only make a decision tomorrow, but no later than half a month. The other party nodded in understanding. Good luck to you. He added hesitantly, Your Highness values you very much. Lear smiled and said nothing. He turned his head and glanced at the wetland lizardmen who were as obedient as kittens. Miss Jasmine, where is the armor? It's all inside. Nodding and waving. Follow me. All the wetland lizardmen followed without hesitation. The supplies, carriages and horses were all in the side yard, but the driver left without staying. Rose House is the property of the Princess of Lorraine City, and the area it occupies is also exaggerated. A side yard is larger than the manors of many small nobles. The horse pulling the carriage is a mottled unicorn, with a shoulder height of more than 2 meters and looks very strong. At this moment, it is chewing grass in front of the carriage leisurely. The armor is piled on the ground, forming a small hill, reflecting the cold metal light. Each set of armor is equipped with a sharp steel knife. Staring at these armors, the attribute panel quietly emerges in my mind. Standard armor. Level 1 star. Features made of tempered steel, it has good defense, and the addition of dwarven skills makes the armor suitable for most humans and humanoids under 2 meters tall. Evaluation. Standard armor with good durability. 1-star armor, 200 sets. Lear took a deep breath. Everyone, wear armor. After receiving the order, the wetland lizardmen immediately came up excitedly, picked up a pair of armor, and helped each other put it on. These armors with obvious dwarven craftsmanship are very well designed. The 1.7 meter tall lizardman wears them and fits the body very well. The black armor exudes a cold light, and the sharp steel knife in his hand makes the wetland lizardman look even more fierce. The thick, strong and powerful tail is like a crocodile's long tail, passing through the special tail of the armor. Once the force is exerted, it can easily break branches as thick as arms. The amber eyes reveal ferocity and bloodlust, making people's hearts tremble. They are a bit shorter than the soldiers guarding the Rose House, but they are no less imposing. It already has scales as a defense, but after putting on armor, its combat effectiveness reaches a new level. 2 squadrons of fully armed level 6 junior knights. Looking at the wetland lizardmen lined up in front of him, Lear felt very emotional. 2 days ago, he was living in the slum in the 9th block, thinking hard about his future. 2 days later, he had a force that belonged entirely to him, a large amount of materials needed for development, and a godhead that was enough to make the world crazy. The future is in your hands. The smile on the corner of the mouth gradually became wanton. As Philena's personal maid, Jasmine was more like a secretary. She had a lot of work at hand. After the wetland lizard man put on his armor, he said goodbye and left. Lear didn't treat him differently and took out about 10 silver coins, but the other party politely refused. As someone close to the Princess of Lorraine City, she has no shortage of money. Return to Rose Manor and immediately go to meet the princess of this city, the most dazzling goddess in the north. Your Highness, all the supplies have been transported to the House of Roses. When I arrived, Lord Lear happened to return, and he purchased a group of slaves as guards. Speaking of this, his face looked a little strange. Phileina noticed her strangeness and said slowly, "But what's the problem?" "That's true, but the slave guards purchased by Lord Lear are a group of wetland lizardmen." Wetland lizard people. Phileina's eyes were a little curious. In the slave market, only the Dragon Tooth Merchant Guild recently purchased a group of wetland lizardmen. The Colosseum must be very fond of these swamp creatures. Why are they now sold to Lord Lear? This flower of the north, Rose of Lorraine, is not a genius who can only study magic as the outside world thinks. Instead, 4 years ago, when she had just turned 20, she began to get involved in the government affairs of Lowland City. In just 1 year, she won the respect of all the government officials. It will take time to fulfill these titles of future extraordinary mage. The controller of Lorraine City, Queen Lorraine, can also describe the flower of the north at this moment. It's just that these things are kept secret, and only the highest levels of the Grand Duke's mansion and the top nobles in Lowland City know about them. Jasmine looked strange. Your Highness, you have transferred the steward of the Colosseum. He originally had a close relationship with the Dragon Teeth Chamber of Commerce. Furthermore, the wetland lizardmen are ferocious in nature and cannot be suppressed by the ring of slavery. The Colosseum is unwilling to purchase them. Phileina raised her eyebrows slightly. It's true that the wetland lizards are ferocious by nature. I killed many of them 7 years ago. Why did Lord Lear choose them? Can you control them? Can you control it? Jasmine had a strange look on her face when she thought of the wetland lizard man who was as obedient as a kitten and did whatever he was told. Perhaps, somewhat to your surprise, those wetland lizard men not only did not reveal their ferocious nature, but were very docile, as if they had been completely tamed by Lord Lear. Phileina smiled softly. That makes sense. Jasmine was a little surprised. Your Highness, are you not surprised? Surprise. Nothing to be surprised about. A descendant of a down-and-out noble who came out of the slums, he could deal with her calmly and tell her that they had become friends in front of him. Could such a character be an ordinary person? Phileena looked out the window, the blue sky reflected in her sapphire blue eyes, looking extremely mysterious. After Jasmine left, Lear looked around the lizardmen. Who is your leader? After wearing armor, the slightly excited wetland lizardmen immediately quieted down. All eyes were on one of them, who was stronger than the other wetland lizardmen and half a head taller. The other party walked out, brushing his companion's shoulder, and came to Lear, with amber eyes full of heat and madness. Kneeling on one knee, the ferocious lizard head lowered. My lord, Hag sends you the highest greetings. The other party's common language was a bit unfamiliar, obviously not often used. Common language is the mainstream language, almost all intelligent races know it, but many races also retain their own languages. Lear nodded. Hags, restrain everyone. We still need to stay in the city for a few days. At this moment, any word he said was a golden rule. The wetland lizardmen did not have the slightest intention to refute, and their souls were obedient. Follow your orders, my lord. It's a pity that there is no hero unit in the 2 squadrons of wetland lizardmen. Lear felt a little regretful. In this world, after embarking on the extraordinary path, there is a chance of secondary transformation and promotion to a more powerful hero unit. The transformation of heroes occurs during the upgrade process. For example, the apprentice knight is promoted to the primary knight, the primary knight is promoted to the intermediate knight, and so on. Every time you upgrade, there is a chance to be promoted to a hero. The greater the potential, the higher the chance. The sign of becoming a hero is awakening the hero talent. Once the talent awakens, the combat effectiveness will be greatly improved. Under the same equipment and level, a hero can push 3 or 4 teams. It is the best of the best. However, the probability of becoming a hero is very small, and it is said that it is only 1 in tens of thousands. Take a deep breath, retract the scattered thoughts, wave to call the staff of Rose House, and ask them to provide good food for the wetland lizardmen, and then return to the room alone. It was sunset at this time. Standing by the open window, looking at the sunset. Red clouds like fire filled the sky, and the orange sun slowly sank into the city wall. Both things today were completed successfully, and the gains were beyond expectations. First of all, the choice of territory, here, successfully took the silt swamp. In the future, this swamp deep in the wilderness will become his place of residence. At the same time, the power hidden in the swamp is also priceless and a well-deserved treasure. Secondly, 200 beginner knights, the wetland lizardmen with a level of up to level 6, were taken down with only 1,000 gold coins. This allowed him to accumulate enough pioneering power. Finally, he had a further connection with Phileena Loran, the flower of the north, Lauren Rose. This line is of great significance, and it still has a role in the early and middle stages, even after development. These days of busyness, the harvest is explosive. At present, there are more than 70 gold coins in hand, and 30 carriages of pioneering materials, including horses and vehicles. 200 level 6 wetland lizardmen wearing standard armor. In addition, their souls have been fused with the swamp godhood. Their wealth suddenly became richer. As the sun gradually set, Lear's eyes became deep. It was night, early in the morning. Ding, ding, ding. The dwarf bell towers at the crossroads of Loran City rang 12 times in a row. The whole city was enveloped by the crisp sound. Time went from July 9th to July 10th. Lear, who was still waiting, suddenly brightened his eyes. In his mind, the intelligence system panel appeared. The intelligence system has cooled down and the information can be refreshed. Do you want to refresh it? With a surge of emotion, he immediately silently said refresh. At the moment of confirmation, lines of handwriting appeared on the panel. 1. The River Valley town 150 kilometers away from Loran City will be looted by a group of harpies tomorrow morning. 1 star. 2. Princess of Loran City, Phileena Loran, likes roses because when she was young, she was robbed by a group of bandits and hid in the rose bushes to escape, and awakened her unique talent, the Lord of Roses. 1 star. 3. The 24th stall selling ore at the entrance of the black market. The ore in the stall owner's hand hides an ancient monster crystal core. Although most of the energy has been lost, it is still extraordinary. It can be fed to the strongest wetland lizardman, haggis, so that its bloodline can evolve. Other lizardmen cannot bear the pain of transformation. 2 stars. 4. The 19th shop in the 5th district of the slave market, Grey Mist Chamber of Commerce is selling dried earth dragon feces. These feces are produced by adult dragons. Because they have dried up over time, the dragon power has greatly diminished and they are mistaken for earth dragon feces. After soaking them in blood, the dragon feces can emit dragon power again. When traveling in the wilderness, dragon feces can safely reach the silt swamp without being attacked. 2 stars. 5. 500 kilometers away in the wilderness, a riot will occur in 20 days. A large number of wilderness races will fight because of a collapsed relic. If you don't leave for the territory before July 15, you will be delayed for 7 months. The power hidden in the silt swamp will revive within half a year. 3 stars. Lear glanced at it and felt a little regretful. There is no golden legend. The highest value of intelligence is 3 stars. If he can get 6-star intelligence every time, he won't think it's too much. Calm down and look carefully. The first one. Another information about the attack. He didn't know where the River Valley town was. The north is very wide, and there are many towns around Loran City, especially the side of Loran City towards the interior of the empire, where the number is countless. There are countless such things, and they happen every day, which is not surprising. The second one is about Philena's past. I didn't expect that this flower of the north had such a dangerous experience when she was young. Fortunately, it was a blessing in disguise that she became a magic genius now. The other party's awakened talent is the Lord of Roses. Just based on a name, you can't judge anything, you can only know that it is related to roses. No wonder the manor where he lives is called Rose Manor, and the hotel under it is called Rose House. The third one. The stall at the entrance of the black market. Selling ore. Isn't this the stall of the one-armed old man next to it when I bought the godhead? There are such good things. Not bad, very good. I got excited. Just when he was talking about not having a hero, he came here. The intelligence system understood him. In fact, he was still short of a few dragon eggs and artifacts. Article 4. Dried dragon feces. In the wilderness, many people would buy earth dragon feces with a hint of dragon power. With the help of dragon power, they could avoid a lot of trouble. Dragon feces are not comparable to ordinary earth dragon feces. The biggest danger of opening up the wilderness thousands of miles away is actually the journey to the mud swamp. Thousands of kilometers, traveling for more than half a month in the wilderness full of dangers, the degree of danger is extremely high. You may encounter attacks at any time. Dragon feces can directly solve this problem that gives him a headache. Lear was in a good mood. The value of this information, in his opinion, is definitely more than 2 stars. Article 5. The only 3-star value of information: the races in the wilderness will fight because of the ruins. You must set off before the 15th, otherwise you will be delayed for 7 months, and the authority of the swamp will recover within half a year. This is too critical. Once the power is revived, it will inevitably cause a huge sensation. If it is delayed, it will be in vain. He must be prepared to get it. This is the power that only gods can control. Who can resist the temptation of becoming a god? This information is only worth 3 stars. He also feels that it is too low and doesn't know how the intelligence system evaluates the value of intelligence. Lying on the bed, Lear thought about how to use the intelligence to accumulate knowledge tomorrow, and fell asleep. July 10th, early morning. Slave market. The sun had not yet risen when Lear arrived. The light morning mist and high humidity suppressed the stench in the air. This made him feel better again. I've been here once before, and I feel much more familiar today. Quickly come to the 5th area and find the Grey Mist Chamber of Commerce. This is a much smaller chamber of commerce than the Longya Chamber of Commerce, with a facade less than 50 meters wide. There were no iron cages for slaves inside, but all kinds of strange things. A series of shackles of various models and thicknesses, and dozens of types of chains. There are also shackles to lock the neck, gags to gag the mouth, and barbed whips. The Grey Mist Chamber of Commerce does not sell slaves, but everything is inseparable from slaves. On one of the shelves, there were piles of dry, cow dung-like feces. Earth dragons are herbivorous monsters. Like cows, the smell of feces is not strong to begin with. After treatment, the smell is gone. When he saw Lear, a thin and dry man wearing a luxurious robe studded with gems, a pointed mouth and monkey cheeks came forward to receive him. "My lord, what do you need?" The voice was sharp, with some accent. This tone made Lear frown slightly. I glanced around and immediately saw the conspicuous display of earth dragon excrement. Judging from the appearance, they are all freshly baked, which is obviously different from the intelligence. Just as he was about to speak, his eyes caught sight of a small, inconspicuous area at the bottom of the shelf. The ground dragon feces on it is extremely dry, and there is still dust on the surface that has not been wiped clean. You can tell that it has been there for a while. With a slight sense of touch, I could detect the subtle difference between it and the earth dragon feces, and my heart moved slightly. A panel comes to mind. Dragon excrement dried. Level 2 stars. Characteristics: after soaking in blood, the dragon's power contained in the feces can be reactivated. Ordinary beings will be frightened by the dragon's power and dare not approach. Good guy, just dried feces is a 2-star treasure. The dragon is indeed synonymous with power in this world. What are these prices? The boss, who was about to brag, looked at Lear's gesture and his expression froze. This was rubbish mixed in with the batch. He was also fooled. He originally planned to throw it away, but after thinking about it, he still couldn't bear it, so he took it for a chance and sold it. What if there is an ignorant person? He rolled his eyes and said loudly. Earth dragons are usually level 10, but these are the feces of level 12 earth dragons. We wanted to save it before selling it later, but we didn't think so. We kept it for too long and almost forgot about it. I just remembered it today. Although the value is much higher than ordinary feces, our selling price is only the same as ordinary earth dragon feces. If you need it, I can give you a 10% discount. The corner of Lear's mouth twitched. He really thought the buyer was a fool, even he could say this. This guy is incomparable to the fat boss of Longya Chamber of Commerce. There's no need to come here for free. No one else will want this thing if you give it to me. Please give me a real price. I'll go to the wilderness not far away, as long as it has some efficacy. The sharp-tongued boss didn't feel embarrassed at all and said with a smile. I know your stuff and I can't hide it from you. Ordinary earth dragon excrement costs 1 gold coin per kilogram. I'll give you a 50% discount on these. If you take them all away, the total will be 10 gold coins. Looking at the pile, it must weigh at least 10 or 20 pounds. Buying a pile of giant dragon excrement at this price will give you brain congestion. This is a 2-star treasure. Although it doesn't sound good to say it out loud, who would let it be something that fell from a giant dragon? 20 silver coins, take them all away. No need to bargain with me. If I don't go too far, this won't have much effect, so I won't even give it to you. If you don't sell it to me today, I won't know what the price will be next time. Besides, are you sure that the effectiveness of this thing will not continue to be lost? This knife struck directly on the aorta. But his few words immediately shut up the boss who wanted to speak. This thing makes sense. This thing has been here for 3 months, and no one asked. The dragon power, which is lighter than water, really makes people not want to take a second look. Going to the wilderness means risking your life in a fight, but buying this thing doesn't mean you risk your life. You've already said that, what else can I say? Okay, I'll make friends and I'll give you away. He said, waving to the side. A staff member immediately ran up, quickly picked up the bag and packed the dragon excrement, and tied a few extra strong knots. Lear counted out 20 silver coins and handed them over, picked up the bag and left. From entering the store to picking up the goods and leaving, it takes less than 2 minutes, and the whole process is as smooth as silk. This 2-star dragon excrement was accepted with 20 silver coins. Make money with blood. The boss with a sharp mouth and monkey cheeks waited for Lear's back to disappear, then proudly raised his head and looked at his assistant. Did you see that? To do business, you need to have means. Sir, I will sell this kind of inferior goods for 20 silver coins. You also said that you should throw it away as soon as possible. Tell me, garbage can also be sold at a good price. I need to learn more in the future. Yes, you are right. If we want to do business, it has to be you, President. Dude sucks up a lot. The next day, July 11th, the entrance to the black market in the 9th neighborhood. A one-armed old man wearing a black robe, with dozens of oars placed in front of him. He slowly rubbed the dark oar in his hand, ignoring the people walking back and forth. Based on his many years of experience in setting up stalls, it is easier to do business on the black market by pretending to be superior and appearing indifferent. The ones who cheat are those who don't understand. Those who know what he is doing will not give him a second glance. He bought these oars from the garbage dump of the dwarf forge for a silver coin. It's all junk, there isn't much metal left in it. What oar could escape the eyes of a dwarf? It's a pity that if he hadn't broken one of his arms while cheating, he would still be able to do more. Now that he's old, he can only rely on this method to wait for the fat pigs to come to him. After a long time, I felt a little tired from holding the oar, so I stretched out. I saw a young figure approaching from the corner of my eye, and my eyes lit up. Isn't this the guy who spent more than 20 gold coins at the stall next to him a few days ago to buy things from tomb robbers? It's here again. This guy saw it first at his booth that day. After looking at his stall for so long and even buying things from grave robbers, how fat does this guy have to be? Wait for the other party to get closer and cough lightly. Your Excellency, I haven't seen you for a few days. I have collected a lot of good things. Do you want to come and see me again? It's good to act superior to strangers, but when you find a fat sheep, you have to take action. Lear looked at the one-armed old man saying hello, his expression a bit subtle. Is this delivered to your door? What oar is there? Take it out and have a look. The one-armed old man smiled proudly. These are all new goods. I bought them at a high price. The last batch were all bought by others. I heard that one of them contained dragon's blood gold about the size of half a thumb. The last batch of goods was sold, but one person bought them all for 5 silver coins. Because there is half a piece inside, and there are a few strands of rare metal hidden inside. If you smelt it all, you might be able to earn 2 or 3 silver coins. He knew there was nothing he could do, he didn't have the technology. The black market is not just about big business, people who rely on 3 melons and 2 dates to survive also occupy a large part. Dragon blood gold, Lear smiled, and his bragging was enough to make him go to heaven. Seeing through it without saying anything, I started rummaging around silently. After going through everything, his eyes seemed to have discovered something, and he looked at the one-armed old man. What is this piece in your hand? Can you get your hands on it and take a look? The one-armed old man was stunned and admired from the bottom of his heart. Your Excellency, you have such a good eye. This oar is extraordinary. Of all the oars, this was the only one he picked up from the river outside the city last month. He kept it because it felt good and he had a tray when he was showing off. The other party actually took a fancy to it. This vision was really amazing. Such a good fat sheep, why did he let it go last time? He still has to change his strategy and can't just show off. He introduced with a slight cough. This is a treasure I received from a dwarf craftsman with a lot of money. It contains a slight amount of mithril. A piece of mithril the size of your thumb can buy a manor in the center of Lorraine City. It's so expensive, so forget it. I can't afford it. The one-armed old man narrowed his eyes slightly when he heard this. The price is high for a reason. The ore below is quite cheap. Do you think you can appreciate it? That's right, but I don't have much money left. I spent it all in the past 2 days. It's too late. What others said may be false, but a few days ago, I watched the other party buy a few rags with more than 20 gold coins, and he seemed to be happy. It's strange that this prodigal son can keep money. He couldn't sit still for a while and look directly at each other. I see that you have come here twice. If you like it, it doesn't matter even if the price is higher, right? You get what you pay for, you should understand this. It's impossible to spend a few copper coins to get the quality of dozens of gold coins. Well, tell me how much you are willing to pay. If it's too expensive, forget it. After thinking for a moment, the one-armed old man slowly raised 5 fingers. 50 gold coins. Then he saw his fat sheep throwing down the oar without even looking at it, and just wanted to leave. He stopped immediately. This is my previous selling price. Seeing that you like it so much today, you only need 30, not 20 gold coins to take it directly. The other party was silent and slowly took out 10 silver coins. The one-armed old man looked at the opponent's open palms and took a deep breath. Your Majesty is really going to kill me. Before he finished speaking, all the silver coins in his hand were in his hands, and then Lear felt like a stone was stuffed into his hand. In that case, let me make you a friend. A random stone can be sold for 10 silver coins. Where can I find this business? I'll go to the river tomorrow and pick up a few more. This fat sheep is so easy to slaughter. The one-armed old man felt delighted. The treasure that can transform hags into a hero unit and the 2-star treasure, dragon dung, were all purchased. The total cost was 0.30 silver coins. Compared with the gains, the price paid would drive people crazy, and even gods would grind their teeth when they heard it. It feels so comfortable. It feels so wonderful to accumulate foundation by taking advantage of information and make a fortune quietly. After all the information refreshed this time is completed, it is time to set off. Lear's eyes are deep. He is also eager to enter the wilderness and go to the mud swamp. Find his authority. Once the swamp authority is obtained, everything will be different. The intelligence system is like a guiding light, which can play a greater role in the wilderness. Back to the Rose House, I saw Philena's personal maid again, with golden hair fluttering in the wind and eyes as sharp as a knife. The 12th level high-level knights are all high-level forces in Loran City, a super city with a population of millions. If she could go one step further and become a 13th level upper knight, she would be qualified to lead a 1,000-man army. But such a person is just a maid who drives a carriage and a horse. Good day, Lord Lear, the 100 slave craftsmen that His Highness gave you have been delivered. The crisp voice fell, and he gestured to the side yard. Lear turned his head to look. On the side, hundreds of figures stood there like sculptures, not daring to move, looking at the ferocious wetland lizardmen in front of them with fear. These craftsmen are mud people living in the swamp. They naturally like wet places, and have higher wisdom than ordinary people. The only disadvantage is that they are timid by nature. Mud people are natural craftsmen. Whether they build houses or forge tools, they are all first-class masters. This is Lady Philena, who bought it for you from other cities. Hearing this introduction, Lear looked curiously. Swamp people. Level 4. Potential 1 star, level cap 6. Profession craftsman, beginner. Racial talent craftsman's heart. Swamp people are naturally intelligent, and have extra comprehension and creativity for various craftsmanship. Skills dexterity 1 star, when building houses or forging tools, increase efficiency by 30%. Equipment none. Evaluation natural craftsman. Life professions and combat professions also have level distinctions. The higher the level, the deeper the professional skills. However, even if the level of life professions is increased, the combat effectiveness will not change. After reading the attribute panel in his mind, Lear took a deep breath. Really thoughtful. Miss Jasmine, please help me convey my gratitude to Her Highness Philena. These craftsmen mean a lot to me. I will remember this favor. Looking at the other party's serious eyes, Jasmine's eyes softened. Handed over a scroll with both hands. Sir, this is a magic map that can guide you to your territory in the wilderness. Every pioneer lord will receive his own magic map. A normal pioneer lord will use a magic map, and the magic will dissipate after 3 months. After Lear took it, Jasmine said meaningfully. But this magic map is a personal item given to you by His Highness. Lord Lear, I wish you a glorious return. She took a deep look at the young man who was particularly valued by His Highness, slightly supported her chest, bowed, and turned away without hesitation. His Highness has given away everything that should be given. She still doesn't understand why His Highness would bet so heavily. She doesn't know what the future will be like, but she just hopes that the other party will not disappoint His Highness' expectations. Lear silently watched the other party's back as he left, and his emotions were a little subtle. He took a long breath, calmed down the ups and downs in his heart, and opened the map in his hand. The portrait on it seemed to be alive, with mountains, rivers, grasses, and streams flowing. A striking hexagram target was at the end of the map. Looking at it intently, a word immediately emerged in his mind. Mud swamp. Another point that kept flashing, in the mark of Loran City, was where he was now. Is this a fantasy version of GPS? Lear was quite amazed. With this thing, the most difficult problem of finding the way in the wilderness was solved directly. While thinking, the detailed properties of the magic map appeared in his mind. Magic map. Level, special. Features engraved with special magic runes. It can always display the location of the magic map. When the mental power is injected into it, the marks on it can be added, deleted, and modified. Evaluation. A map drawn by a wizard with super high magic attainments is very precious. The cost of this map is definitely not cheap. This favor seems to be getting bigger and bigger. Lear took a deep breath. Today's gift will be repaid one day. Put away the map, calm down, and return to the side yard. When the wetland lizardman saw him, his eyes immediately became hot. This is the master that their souls submit to and worship. Lear looked at the swamp people. These craftsmen were wearing ragged linen clothes, and their appearance was no different from ordinary people, except that their pupils were the color of green algae, which looked quite strange. An old swamp man in his early 60s with curly hair and a slightly hunched back stepped forward. He put his right hand on his chest, bowed deeply, and saluted with the most humble gesture. Bane, I have met my lord, may the goddess protect you. His tone was a bit trembling and uneasy. Lear glanced at the other party with a bit of surprise in his eyes. Is this a hero? Bane, hero unit, level 5. Potential 2 stars, level limit 9. Occupation, junior craftsman. Racial talent, heroic talent construction, has a unique and keen perception of buildings, can make overall plans for large buildings, and can save construction costs while improving the sturdiness of buildings. Skill, skillful hands, 1 star. When building a house or forging tools, the efficiency will be increased by an additional 30%. Planning, 1 star, has an overall plan for the building and can use the terrain as much as possible to build suitable buildings. Equipment, none. Evaluation, heroes with planning abilities are suitable for building territories. A level 5, 2-star potential hero. Not bad, very good. Lear was in a good mood. And the other party's ability is exactly what he needs urgently. Developing lords and territory construction are always the core. Bane, follow me to the territory early tomorrow morning. In the future, we will need your assistance. I obey your orders, my lord. The swamp people are timid by nature, and their fighting ability is even worse than that of ordinary people. They have no confidence and no idea to resist. He didn't even wear a ring of slavery around his neck. These guys were useless. They are two extremes from the ferocious wetland lizard people. Lear glanced at the crowd. There were hundreds of swamp craftsmen, plus 2 squadrons of wetland lizardmen wearing thick armor. The development power currently in his hands is already very good compared to other development lords. Those descendants of nobles may not have so many initial resources. The normal selling price for a junior knight slave reaching level 6 is more than 200 gold coins, which is 40,000 gold coins. Plus a full set of armor, hundreds of slave craftsmen, and various supplies for 30 carriages. Ordinary nobles emptied their wealth, and that might be it. Bane, go take stock of our supplies and see what we are missing. Purchase them together today, and set off into the wilderness tomorrow. Bane was somewhat flattered, and his algae green eyes became excited. Yes, sir. But just as he regained his composure, he turned around and saw the menacing wetland lizard man, and he suddenly became weak again. She looked at him a little nervously. Grown-ups. Lear couldn't laugh or cry. From now on, all wetland lizard men will be our companions, and the sharp blades in their hands will only face the enemy. They are companions you can trust and will protect you with their swords. Go ahead. After receiving such a promise, Bane had the courage to go to the carriage to investigate. Passing by these ferocious warriors, I breathed a sigh of relief after making sure that they would not hurt me. Started to check carefully. I have to say that Philena's gift is indeed extraordinary. 30 large carriages for pulling goods, like small trucks, are filled with rice and grain. Food, drink, clothing, almost everything in daily life is included. Nothing is missing. In other words, the missing items are difficult to transport. Lear didn't say much when he saw this, and handed over the task of counting and taking charge of supplies to his first hero. For 300 people, the daily food expenses are an exaggerated figure. But a carriage was filled with 1-star magic food, nose rice. This magical food, said to be the first saint of the Earth Mother Goddess, contains powerful magic power and can fill a person's stomach for 5 days with only half a kilogram of rice. Its output is very low and requires a mage to cultivate. It has always been a strategic material reserved by major forces or nobles. But Filena directly gave him a carriage. A rough estimate is over 3,000 kilograms. Enough to sustain hundreds of people for half a year. After confirming that it was correct, Lear, who was in a good mood, looked at the strongest figure among the wetland lizardmen. Hags, follow me. The treasure that can transform this brutal beast into a hero has been obtained. Now, let this wetland lizard man step into another world. Train your first combat hero. Bringing Haggis, the ferocious lizard man, to the room, Lear took out the black ore he bought from the black market, his voice serious. There is an energy core of an ancient demon beast hidden in it. Although most of it has disappeared due to the passage of time. But it can still transform your bloodline. Haggis, are you willing to be the sharp blade in my hand? The heart of this wetland lizard man trembled. Transformed into a hero. The hottest madness appeared in the amber eyes. He knelt down suddenly with his head against the ground. He said crazily with the most humble attitude, "My lord, I am willing to be your sharp blade and dedicate my soul to you. Wherever you look, that is what I do. Becoming stronger is the nature of all life. Becoming a hero is the lifelong dream of most people. At this moment, the opportunity that countless days and nights fantasize about is in front of him." Lear nodded slowly. After letting him stand up, he handed him the stone in his hand. Haggis did not hesitate and squeezed it hard. Crack, a large crack appeared on the stone, and then it broke with a crack. In the rubble, a thumb-sized object with a faint red fluorescence appeared in sight. Vigorous energy emanated from the body, as if holding a small sun. Eat it and complete the transformation. Haggis took a deep breath, suppressed his inner excitement, and swallowed it in one gulp. The next moment, a fierce and brutal breath suddenly burst out of his body. The whole person's face began to twist. The body softened and fell directly to the ground, and the throat let out a beast-like low roar. The whole body began to twitch uncontrollably. It was like being tortured by extremely terrible torture. It looked chilling. Lear took another look at the information. The 22nd stall selling ore at the entrance of the black market, the stall owner's ore hides an ancient magic beast crystal core. Although most of the energy has been lost, it is still extraordinary. It can be fed to the strongest wetland lizardman Hags, so that his bloodline can evolve. Other lizardmen cannot bear the pain of transformation. Simple tips, extraordinary accuracy. How can you taste the sweetest fruit without going through hardships? Silently waiting, looking at the increasingly twisted and hideous face, Lear couldn't imagine what kind of pain the other party would have to endure. This is a life that is almost immune to pain and cannot be suppressed by the ring of slavery. This process lasted for a full 3 hours. In the continuous transformation, Hags's body size is growing visibly. His height has increased from 1.7 meters to 1.85 meters, and his momentum is as aggressive as a beast. Even if he crawls on the ground and trembles, he still gives people a sense of fierceness and brutality. Another hour later, Haggis, who had completed his promotion, slowly woke up. He stood up slowly. His 1.85-meter body was like a bloated balloon, and his dwarf armor was bulging high with muscles. The solid muscles could not even be covered by the armor. The lizard man's head was ugly and ferocious, with blood swollen in his mouth and fangs like knives, and his amber eyes were full of aggression. The 10-centimeter-long claws flashed coldly, like a dagger. Ordinary armor could not block its sharpness. He strode to Lear, knelt on one knee, and lowered his head. "My lord, from now on, I will be your sword and cut off all thorns for you." Haggis felt the power surging in his body and was so excited that he could not control himself. He stepped into a higher level and became a hero. This is a scene that he would dream of countless nights. Now, the dream has come true. And this is all given to him by the great master. Greatness needs no words. Lear's mouth curled up slightly. This is his first real hero. Although life heroes like Bane are not insignificant, in battle, Hags can kill 100 or 1,000 Banes alone. Staring at the kneeling wetland lizardman hero in front of him, the other party's new attribute panel emerged in his mind. Hags. Level Intermediate Knight, Level 7. Potential 2 stars, Level Cap, Level 9. Racial talent Amphibious life, with unique lung organs, can hold breath for a long time and take short breaths underwater. Hero talent Regeneration. The body with unique power has the ability to regenerate, and can consume blood and chi to recover quickly after being injured, and can also grow again after limbs are broken. Blood, 1000 points. Skill, Scale Armor, 2 stars. Passive, Scale Armor has steel-like defense, and the damage received is reduced by 30%. Cruelty, 2 stars. When receiving damage or launching an attack, it will become extremely cruel, and all attributes will be increased by 30%. It is not afraid of pain and will fight the enemy to death. Crazy Blood, 2 stars. After tasting the taste of blood, the size increases by 20% and the strength increases by 40%. Equipment, none. Evaluation, Fierce Swamp Life. Li Er's eyes flashed. After the transformation was completed, the strength increased dramatically. The potential increased from 1 star to 2 stars, the level cap reached level 9, and the original level 6 was also raised to level 7. At the same time, a powerful hero talent was awakened. Regeneration. After being hurt, you can consume blood to recover, and even regenerate broken limbs. This is definitely a reborn skill. In the battle, the lizard man, who was already ferocious and fearless of pain, gained the ability to recover quickly. The figure of the Hulk appeared in his mind. Isn't this the youth version of the little Hulk in the fantasy world? And Hags's new attribute, Chi and Blood, is a unique attribute of the Night Path. You must become a hero before you can wake up. Chi and Blood can strengthen skills and cause additional damage. It is a sign of high-level combat power. Only with Chi and Blood can you be called a true hero. However, in contrast, the mage has magic power from the beginning. This is why the mage is called the Mage Master. The Night Path requires something that only heroes can have, and the Mage Apprentice can get it. Hags's original 2 1-star skills have all been upgraded to 2 stars, and the attributes have been greatly improved. And he also got a new skill, Crazy Blood, which is also very fierce. In summary, Hags, who was promoted to a hero, has soared a lot in single soldier combat power. Now, he can fight 2 or 3 teams of wetland lizardmen alone. This is the hero unit. The infinitely charming hero unit. The same is true for heroes like Bane who only become vassals. The strong can decide fate. Get up and go back to restrain your companions. Tomorrow morning, we will set off for the territory. That will be the future home of all of us. Hags took a deep breath and lowered his head. As you wish. The moment Hags left the room, the intelligence system quietly appeared. You have cultivated a hero unit and obtained an additional intelligence in the Silt Swamp. There is a magical plant, white flower longleaf grass, which contains unique energy. After Hags swallows it, its potential will be increased to 3 stars. Li Er was stunned at first, and after reading the new information, the corners of his mouth could not help but rise. This is also possible. There is even follow-up information. 100 flowers longleaf grass can increase Hags' potential from 2 stars to 3 stars. Although a 2-star hero is considered good, the upper limit of the level is only 9 levels. Upgrading to 3 stars, it is a truly high-level hero. The most intuitive thing is that the level cap can be raised to level 12. The overall combat power increase is not as simple as 1 + 1. Comfortable. And with the support of the intelligence system, it may not be impossible to train Hags to be the top hero in the future. At this moment, Hags strode back to the side yard of the Rose house. Sensing his breath, the wetland lizardmen showed some doubts. After carefully sensing, they immediately became agitated. The breath of a hero on Lord Hags. After they confirmed with Hags, there was an uproar. The eyes became hot and crazy. What did the Lord reward Lord Hags? Why did he transform into a hero in just a few hours? Swamp God. Is the Lord sent by God to save them? Bane saw this scene and his face was full of disbelief. Only he knew how many difficulties and hardships he had experienced to become a hero. I didn't expect that a hero unit could be obtained by reward. For a moment, Lear suddenly became mysterious in his heart. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.